goodness. So what do you got? Any interesting games or movies or shows besides Attack on Titan, which I think is like the big one for a lot of people? But like, is there anything else this year where you're like, ooh, that's gonna be? I think that's gonna be cool. I look forward
Well,
to it.
I guess I'm looking forward to the two action horror remakes, Dead Space and Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
I do want to play. Hold on one second. Sorry, I had a pretty big cough. I do want to play Starfield, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out. Because I think it could go sort of either way from a quality standpoint, and I think that is kind of interesting to cover. Whereas I think it's less of a, it's going to be less of a cyberpunk situation. Everyone thinks it's going to be great, and then because it's not the best game that's ever been made, people are disappointed. And more that I think Starfield might surprise some people. And I mean, I say that as a person who's not a huge Bethesda fan, like to the point that I've been playing Fallout 4 because I never finished it, and I figured, okay, if I try to cover Starfield without having finished their previous single player game, I don't know I don't know that puts me in a good position to cover it well, you know.
So, what are your opinions so far on Fallout 4? Because my thing is that like there are some really good mods for it, but the core game is kind of lacking, and some of the side content is really obnoxious, like with Preston always bugging you about every little thing.
See, I actually haven't been talking to Preston much. I haven't done too much with the Minuteman since the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Preston's the Minuteman guy, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I've like mods aside, because I know being a Bethesda or Fallout game of any kind, of course, yeah, mods are going to be kind of one of the main deals, like one of the main reasons people play the game.
Yeah.
So I'm in the recent playthroughs I've done of New Vegas, Fallout 4, and Fallout 76, zero mods, like nothing. I'm not doing anything that you can't do outside the game. Even to the point that I was debating looking at a way that I could get an FOV mod for 4, because you can't. There's no FOV slider for whatever reason. Yeah. But even then, I was like, okay, I'm even gonna skip that, because once I open up that, once that gateway is opened, like it's a Bethesda game and we're talking mods here. I don't think I'm gonna stop at just the FOV slider once I'm on that mod stage. So like I'm basically not going to the Nexus at all. Not giving it any time to force myself through the vanilla. But anyways, I think the shooting mechanics in Fallout 4 are quite good, especially for a Fallout game, which granted is not super high standard. But it especially feels quite good playing it on Steam Deck or with a mouse and keyboard. The playing I don't like really at all. I really hate I don't hate it in Mass Effect, because that's Mass Effect's dialogue system, and I think it works for it. But for a Bethesda game, a Fallout game, to have intention-based dialogue choices, like not give you exactly what you're going to say, give you the basic idea of like the intention you're kind of going to say, and then not having the like a voiced player character play like actually act it out, you know. It just something about it just doesn't feel right, and
No,
it
really doesn't feel right. Yeah.
And there is also an element of it, almost like you're playing Bethesda's character, like if like as if it's not more like The Witcher 3, and that like Geralt is your character in Witcher 3. It's not your Witcher. It's not like the you know, it's not a person that you are role playing. It is you are role playing as this character, and that's kind of what Fallout 4's protagonist feels like. It doesn't really feel like there's a million different ways you can make him. It's like you can make him a dick, and that's not gonna like that. Basically, it's gonna be difficult to do most things because people aren't gonna want to work with you. Or you can be really, really nice, or you can be somewhat inquisitive, and those are pretty much your only choices ever. And you can almost like. Oh, do like them. I don't know. Did Mass Effect do it where it was always like the X button would be good dialogue, and there'd be like sassy at triangle, and because it almost kind of seemed like that in Fallout 4, that you could keep bumping the direction that is your morality choice or one that. But even then, because there's no morality system. Also, it's sort of like, well, and there's not really a morality system at all. So I can kind of do anything to these people, and it's inconsequential.
That's
So
kind of the most boring thing about Fallout 4, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just because I liked how deep the character work in New Vegas is so good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Fallout 4 is just really flat. And I will say about Mass Effect, I wouldn't have... I like... The Paragon and Renegade system is probably the worst part about those games. Because Commander Shepard is probably the worst character in Mass Effect. Like, all the side characters are the really awesome characters. But anyway. Hey, cool guys.
Sorry, you can... Oh, Fonz is here? Hey, Fonz.
Yeah, I joined up.
But yeah, I mean, you can make... I think with Mass Effect, the dialogue system, even the Paragon Renegade, other than 5-6 choices, it's mostly, do you want to be Jean-Luc Picard or do you want to be Han Solo? Like, that's sort of it. It's just like, do you want to be a Paragon? Well, I mean, honestly, Paragon or Renegade probably is pretty good names considering the flexibility of the system. But it's been a long time since I played Mass Effect, so I'm not even dumping on Mass Effect for that reason, but it certainly did make Fallout 4 feel less like a Fallout and more like they were trying to just do the BioWare thing, but in a Fallout game. But anyways, Fonz, how have you been doing?
Not bad.
Are you with baby?
No, she's asleep.
Okay, Jojo, you're the only baby.
There we go. We'll see for how long, but it looks like she's down for the count.
All right, but you better hold it, Jojo. I know people think Jojo's pretty cute. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, she's never really up against human competition.
Idiot.
Jeez. Now, what's next? We're gonna have human babies competing in dog shows.
Oh wow.
It's a way less politically spicy joke than it sounds like it is.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
So you guys were talking about Fallout 4?
Yeah, just because I've been playing it to kind of... mostly it was like, hey, things we're excited for next year. And that's pretty much it, with the exception of there was one other game that I was thinking about quite a bit that I was like...
Which ones did you say?
I've said the 2 remakes, Resident Evil and Resident Evil 4, Starfield. What are the other kind of major things coming up this year? I guess Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy 16. The two fucking PlayStation 5 Final Fantasies that are gonna make me buy twice. I know it, but
they're exclusives.
Yeah, or at least at first.
One of those.
I'm really hoping though that they maybe change their mind on Rebirth, especially considering Reunion, which I probably should have put in my honorable mentions. Actually, that's a good time to say this. So adding one to my honorable mentions. Hold on one second, need to cough. Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion.
I want to play it. I haven't played it yet. Of course, I haven't even played the remake yet. So
spectacular. Yeah, you don't really need to play Final Fantasy VII Remake to play Crisis Core. It's just a legit, like, very much 1-to-1 remake of the PSP original.
Yeah.
And to its credit, like, I think it does it in kind of a good way, where like all the visuals look a lot better, like not even just a little bit better, like they look way better. But you can also tell that it's like a texture pack running on top of the PSP game, because they look like character models that are like, you know, a high-end PSP game, which it doesn't sound that great, but you got to remember PSP basically the same as PS2 from a fidelity standpoint, and like Metal Gear Solid 3 is a PS2 game, so like there's those character models can actually look pretty good, and often what's making them look less good is things like the texture on stuff like the skin and the clothes. But this is brand new, like 4K HD textures that are running on top of it. Plus everything is like, at least, I was running it through a capture card. So in my situation, it was absolutely locked at 60 FPS. And in X-Ray Girl, she hasn't dipped a frame below 120 FPS the entire time she was playing. So, and I mean, which is, I mean, honestly, for a modern PC running a PSP game, even with a texture pack, that's probably how it should be running, but it is. So, you know, it's why not?
It's doing its job.
Yeah, no, it was like, okay, it's running beautifully. It runs like a dream on Steam Deck too, and it actually made it so that I think I finished it in 5 parts, maybe on my like I streamed the entire game, and part of the reason was because of my off time, like just on breaks at work or when I was killing time or just like like before I go to sleep in bed, I would just fire up Crisis Core and do the side missions because it kind of has a Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker sort of organization to the missions where. There's like the story missions that sometimes will take like an hour and are like pretty intensive. But then there's the like, oh, hey, this is a PSP game. So we imagine you're going to want to be playing this on the go. So there's a lot of stuff you can do in this game that's like, oh, yeah, you got 3 minutes. Good news. You can earn some materia. And so I was like ultra powerful for a whole chunk of the game to the point that I switched it to the hardest difficulty and ended up liking it a lot more because I actually was complaining initially that the game was quite easy until there's I guess spoiler alert, this is not the last boss fight of the game, but there is a boss fight against a certain white-haired swordsman with a long nodachi.
Oh, of course.
Not gonna name names, but the thing is with this fight, which you can see it on me losing my shit playing it on my stream on hard mode. There's a hard time limit because Sephiroth is like pushing the player you're playing as back. Jojo, just the way Jojo is trying to do to Rocky right now as he tried to enter the couch or territory. But he's constantly pushing you back little by little, and if you get to the end of this bridge that you're fighting on, you fall off and die. The thing is, on hard mode, even at the level I was at, I just did not have the damage output to kill him before he was able to push me back. Yeah. You can't stop him from moving you back. You can't repel him back towards his direction, and you basically have no other choice but crazy hard damage output in a limited amount of time. And so I'm like, okay, well, my only choice now is to completely replay this last mission because I need to then go do side missions and grind. So I just bumped it down to normal and finished the game like that. Jojo, he's just a baby.
It's a baby.
He sounds
he'll be fine. Oh no, she's just being territorial. But Rocky's also not. He doesn't defend himself.
Okay.
Powerful weak.
No. It's a pure alpha move. He's just like, whatever, bite me. Go ahead. I don't care. Tiny poodle. I'm a Chihuahua. I'm from Mexico.
Well, that's how it is.
That's hilarious.
But yeah. I guess who wants to kick us off?
We can start with you.
Start with me? Okay.
Yeah, that's how we started last time.
Sure, sounds good. My number 5 is Disney Channel's theme, a history mystery by Defunctland. It's a YouTube documentary about the Disney Channel theme from the early to mid 2000s. I'm Hannah Montana and you're watching Disney Channel, and it goes dun 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 dun. It's like that little ditty, right?
I don't think I had the Disney Channel, so
yeah,
I actually don't know that.
Yeah, well, it was
my awareness of Hannah Montana, That's So Raven, Zack and Cody, and Cory in the House.
Yep.
The only reason I'm aware of any of those things is because I worked at EB Games in an era where all of them had like Nintendo Wii and Nintendo DS games.
Yeah.
So I was aware of them because I've seen their game adaptations at work, but never really saw any of those shows. So I might be kind of lost on this one.
Well, it was something that, obviously because it's the Disney Corporation, like they never gave credit to the original artist. So it was essentially Kevin Pajur is his name, and he was essentially trying to track down who wrote the theme. Like, who is this? Can this be attributed to? And he goes down this whole rabbit hole. He interviews a ton of people, and in the middle of that, he sort of mixes in like his own kind of discussion about like how, when you work for certain corporations, it's just like it's a hive mind where you're not really credited as an individual. It's like this group who does music, like they did it, and it's not the individual, which makes it very hard to track down. He eventually figures out who did it, and he talks more about the person and about their life and stuff. And it's very good. It's very well designed. It's a very good documentary, and it was my second favorite video that came out this year on YouTube. I like those kinds of long form videos where it's like we're gonna dispense some information, we're gonna do some commentary, but it's also we're gonna do a little bit of personal info about like the person who's telling the story. So as you know, the person discusses the art sort of is reflected back through them, which is something that I always really enjoy.
That's something that people often say about Troy Duffy and Boondock Saints. That there's a documentary that's on I think it's on the Blu-ray. It might even be on the DVD of Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
And I gotta web up the tourist. Yeah, sorry, I didn't even know what I was doing to this thing. I'm in Kingpin's office. I'm playing the Spider-Man game. But anyways, so apparently though the documentary on Boondock Saints and Troy Duffy and basically like how he made Boondock Saints and what like an egomaniac was, because apparently he really was convinced that he was going to be the next Quentin Tarantino and like bigger than him.
Yeah.
So part of the, I guess, allure of the Boondock Saints story is like, you know, I guess just seeing this kind of, what would be the word for it? Not megalomaniac. When someone thinks that they're the greatest thing in the world.
Oh yeah, very egotistical, very like arrogant.
Egomaniac? Yeah, I guess egomaniac.
Yeah.
Egomaniacal, yeah, an egomaniacal like story on its own that it's like, oh, I mean, even like Fonz and I both like we love the Boondock Saints for years. I think it's a good movie, but
yeah,
I mean, I guess if the director was a total dick to people on set, I suppose that wouldn't surprise me, especially if he's making the kind of movie that Boondock Saints was in the era that it was made.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but like then you're not also watching like Stanley Kubrick was like that.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
James Cameron is like that.
Yeah, see, Cameron, I've heard mixed things on. Kubrick, though, that is like that's very much a known thing that he was like particularly horrendous to Shelley Duvall from The Shining.
Yep.
Because he wanted her, he was like, "You're not looking scared enough, so I'm gonna like psychologically scar you forever." As much as like I like Kubrick, it's like, I don't know that I can really sign off on that as like a good thing, though. Like,
yeah.
But it's very good. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. And Disney's also known for doing like shady things like that too.
Yeah,
like
well,
especially
actually, I mean, they literally got sued by one of their actresses. So.
While it's not on my list, has anyone here seen YMS's video on the Lion King remake?
Yes, it's very good.
Oh yeah, like Fonz, like I know you probably don't think this is something you'll enjoy watching, but it's gonna blow your mind and it's probably gonna make you lose a lot of respect for Jon Favreau.
I'm not surprised, but
like,
what is it? YMS?
Yeah, Your Movie Sucks is his channel. But and the guy, his voice is a little on the annoying side, so you might need to take a couple seconds to acclimatize to it.
I like
that. I mean, I don't mind it either. It's just I find that people have recommended this video to in particular because I think this video is. I honestly think it's nothing short of brilliant. Like I don't even think that's overselling it, or like brilliant. Probably not the correct word. It's an incredible piece of investigative journalism.
Yeah.
Like it's and to the point that if you don't care at all about Disney or Lion King, you might actually still really enjoy watching this video. Like you will be hooked. It's about an hour and a half long too. Like it's not
it's not than that, I think, right?
Is it? I don't know. I know it is definitely a feature length one, and I listened to it over about 3 days at the gym.
Yep.
And found that I was constantly having to pull my phone out of my pocket to watch what he was saying for reference. Also, this is specifically the Lion King 2019 video, not the Kimba the White Lion video.
Yeah.
I think I've watched parts of Kimba the White Lion, or like a short version of it.
His video on it, yeah.
Like, because I don't think I've watched, because I just see it right now, like 2 hours and a half, I doubt I watched Kimba the White Lion, all of it, but I know I heard the story of it, of how they basically ripped it off and then like sued that company.
And that is actually like kind of not the case that YMS makes.
Okay.
It's more the case he makes is that that is a common internet lore that like, oh, okay, like Disney totally stole the Lion King from this Japanese cartoon called Kimba the White Lion. And basically YMS is like, okay, so I even repeated that myself for years, and I'm saying YMS says this in his video. He's like, until I thought I should actually like look in to be like, what is Kimba the White Lion really? Like how close to the Lion King was it? And he says it really kind of boils down to people cherry picking a couple shots, a couple episodes, and a couple moments of what are like 300 episodes of Kimba, and to make it kind of seem like it has something to do with the Lion King, when it's like, really, it's like, well, I guess, yeah, they're both about lions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, they're in Africa, so there is going to be some imagery that is pretty similar, and
yeah,
they're cubs, so... But I think also that he's like, honestly, I think a lot of it boils down to people saw that it was Kimba, and they're like, hey, Kimba sounds like Simba. Disney fucking ripped this off.
But I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Knowing what we know about Disney, if Kimba the White Lion came out after the Lion King, do you think Disney would have sued them?
I don't know. Probably like they would have a lot of trouble.
Sure, but would they try?
Like, I mean, well, that's the thing. Yeah, like, I think you got to watch the video first, because like it's
okay.
It really is like, hey, like Kimba the White Lion. It's not like one movie that was like a adaptation of him.
It's almost like an anime
done with lions. Yeah, like no, it's not at all like that. It's like it's probably a lot closer to like, oh, it's like saying Lion King's just like Speed Racer. It's like, well, no, it's not. It's like, no, it's like Speed Racer, but it's like a lion, and they're in Africa instead of race cars. And you'd be like, well, now you're kind of moving the goalpost pretty far away from what we need to safely call a point here, huh? Like, but I think I'm not doing a good job of making the case, because I don't think it's an easy case to make quickly, which is why I think YMS's Kimba video is actually as good as it is, because he does the work. He takes the time to be like, I don't necessarily think this is an example of Disney ripping Simba off from Kimba, because here's what we're actually talking about. Whereas most people just kind of hear the soundbite and are like, oh yeah, Disney ripped them off for sure.
Got it.
But, hold on. Sorry, another big cough. But the same cannot be said of Disney's guilt. Yeah, guilt in the 2019 Lion King, because, man, it's like he almost makes the case that it's like borderline money laundering, to the point that it's like what did they actually spend this money on? Or like effort that they said they put in, like, or things like saying they have new recorded voice lines from James Earl Jones, or like all of them are newly recorded, when he's like, I don't know though, it seems like there's plenty that are just stripped right out of like the movie The Lion King.
The original Lion King.
Yeah, it's like, and if not, out of those recording sessions, which Disney would obviously still have the rights to and stuff.
And the masters.
But it's really in depth, like I said, so it would be pretty hard to like go over it on this podcast that is not about this. But that was an interesting pick though, KJ. I think that no one was really expecting a YouTube video to be on here, to the point that
there's another one on here and it's really high.
Oh wow.
And like YouTube videos should or that kind of content should be at this point. Like, I feel like more people watch. That's more in the mainstream nowadays, like YouTube videos over TV shows.
That's ridiculous. Long form YouTube videos require no talent funds.
But but it's just what's being consumed. Not
funds. I make long term YouTube videos. I'm not kidding.
Got it. All right, Mark, you can go, because I only have 4 left. Because did we talk about Spider-Man Far From Home?
Yeah, we did. No Way Home, and even then, that was one that we were like, okay, yeah, that was the previous year. But I think KJ had just watched it, or you had just watched it, or
just watched it. Yeah, cool guy.
I watched it. Yeah, I watched it this year.
And I'm actually playing Spider-Man.
It's almost like Avatar. Didn't it come out in December?
Yeah. And speaking of Spider-Man, I just webbed Kingpin.
There we go.
Which, if you're watching on my Rumble channel, you just saw me do. But anyways, But yeah, if anything, I need more slots because I was thinking about it afterwards and I was like, oh, I structured everything very poorly to the point that I was like, man, I should have cut Barbarian, mostly because I was like, I don't have a slot for Vampire Survivors anymore. And Vampire Survivors I really did want to put on my list, but I was like, House of the Dragon being on there kind of fucked things up too, and I might have to, you know what, I'll do a little just condensing towards the top. I'll put two of my video game entries together. But my number 5, I will say, let's go with Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Let's say Cyberpunk Edge Runners, because it is honestly one of the best things that's ever been made as an adaptation of a video game property, and like not a year after Arcane came out. So it's like, man, I love the timeline we're in when it comes to animated video game adaptations. Like, it's seriously incredible in a lot of ways. Oh, yeah. And it makes me hopeful for what the future of these types of things could mean. Oh, Andrew Matthews also for $5. Metroid, History of a Legendary Franchise is on my top 10. Oh, thank you, Andrew. That's a video that I made. A long-form YouTube video, folks. But anyways, but yeah, and I think that Edge Runners does a fantastic job of capturing the Mike Pondsmith's Cyberpunk universe, the Cyberpunk 2077 game. Hold on one second, a cough. And the theme and style of the director's work. Now, I'm kind of, his name is slipping my mind right now. I wish I had it written down in front of me. But the director of Cyberpunk Edge Runners also directed 2 other shows which I have watched. Kill la Kill, which I think is fun. It's it's very sexy, action-packed. Yeah, it's sexy, action-packed, and fun. But I think I would have trouble making a case for Kill la Kill as one of like the best anime ever made.
Oh, which is boy, don't say that in front of me or Caleb. I mean, you said it in front of me, but don't say it in front of Caleb.
You think it's one of the best ever made?
I think it's not even close. It's definitely one of the best ever made. It's such a wonderful.
I think I need to rewatch it then before we continue this conversation, because I saw it like 4 years ago, and now I feel like I need to rewatch it in the context of the 2 other shows from the same director that I've watched since.
Yeah, because I will say that one of the things about it, and I'll just mention the one thing about it that's really great, is it's like, there's always the debate of how to talk about political ideologies and political themes in fiction, and Kill la Kill is a send-up of fascism, and the way that they do it is really, really well done.
Hey.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, I guess I can see that, especially when you think about things like the Hitler Youth and stuff, and how they structure popularity at the school.
Yeah.
But what I was going to mention though was the other show that I actually my Black Friday treat to myself this year was the Blu-ray collection of this that I got from Right Stuff Anime, and it's the show is called Gurren Lagann, and it is incredible. I absolutely love that show. It is one of the things that. It's one of the things that I watched that started cheering me up after my last big breakup. Like, the girl that I was engaged to when I lost my leg. And we broke up about 9 months after I lost my leg. And I watched this show around the time that I was recovering. Recovering not from my leg, sorry. Recovering from the bad breakup. So I was, like, pretty depressed. And the really kind of crazy thing about Gurren Lagann is it's... I'm actually here. I don't want to talk too much about Gurren Lagann, otherwise this could be. But basically, it's a story about human potential defying impossibility. I think is probably the best way to put it. Yeah. But it's very good, and I think that Cyberpunk Edge Runners takes a lot of the themes of both Kill la Kill and Gurren Lagann and tells them in a different way, while also telling a pretty poignant story about addiction. And in this case, not addiction to drugs, but addiction to cyberware, to augmenting yourself. And I think it's so good. It kind of saved the video game that it's based on. So in some ways, so that's pretty crazy.
But I heard the updates have pretty much saved that.
Well,
game
I mean that these were things that needed to happen at the same time. Like if people went back to the game or bought the game because of edge runners and the game was broken, it wouldn't have gone well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, no, I was gonna start edge runners yesterday because you've been talking about it so much, but
it would be very safe to call it a 9 out of 10 show and pretty reasonable to call it a 10 out of 10 show. It's not long either though. I think that the things knocking it down as far as like its value are, there's a bit of a time jump kind of towards the end of the show that is a little on the jarring side, and I think it was Dustbo. Shit, it might have been John who was on EFAP was making the point that there was a character at the beginning of in the first episode of the show who was only in the first episode of the show that could have used a bit more development, and I also do agree. But overall, it's an absolutely fantastic piece of media. Like, not just television, not just anime, not just a fantastic video game adaptation. Like, Edge Runners stands on its own as just a really great thing that exists.
Not bad. Have you watched it, KJ?
No, I need to. I really want to. I just haven't gotten around to it. I also need to watch the second season of Spy Family. The first season's really good.
Yeah, well, it's more its first season part 2, I think, is that right now? Because there's like 3 months between them or something like that. Like, it wasn't much time.
So much, like, so many things to catch up on. Like JoJo's Greatest Adventure.
Well, JoJo is if you're not caught up on JoJo, that's a big, that's like 6 seasons you're dealing with at this point. I would say, but definitely put Edge Runners above that because it's like 9 episodes and you're done. Let's see, what would I say? Chainsaw Man, Fonz, you should watch Chainsaw Man.
Chainsaw Man?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna start Cyberpunk. A, because it's on your list, and B, because I'm gonna play the game eventually. But
Chainsaw Man and Spy Family are 2 of the things that are kind of fucked to be not on my list. That I'm like, oh shit, those were this year, because they both deserve a spot on my list, and they're both amazing. So actually, here, I'll throw those in with my number 5. Number 5 is no longer Cyberpunk Edge Runners. It's the anime which I watched this year and really enjoyed.
There you go.
The other 2 of which being Spy Family, which is the most uniquely wholesome show I've ever seen in my life, because it's an action show about a spy that's also a very, very violent show about an assassin, like a hired assassin, and an adorable show about a little psychic girl, and they're all happening at the same time, and it's all wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great show about found family and stuff. It's great.
Yep, it is a great show about found family. It's also a very good action anime. It's like hyper sexy at times too, so it's like, man, Spy Family's working on a lot of levels at the same time and doing very, very well with it. Not unlike, I think, imagine if Kingsman and Kindergarten Cop were like crossed.
There you go.
Like, because that kind of takes all the things that are like looped together in Kingsman to make it kind of like a fun, sort of over-the-top version of a super spy, but like mixed with some like wholesome family like goodness, and that's Spy Family does that really well. Chainsaw Man is kind of the polar opposite, in which it's also kind of wholesome in its own way, but it's debaucherous, like through and through. It is basically a story of a young boy who has a pet that he finds that is a small little dog with a chainsaw for a face, named Pochita, who eventually, Pochita's like dying when Denji, who's the main character, finds them, and he gives him a little bit of his blood, and he basically says like, yeah, you seem like you're an outcast just like me, because Denji's like effectively a homeless kid because his father was in crippling debt and then his father died, so he was basically just put into like an adult's debt when he was like 4. And then he meets up with Pochita and then starts using Pochita and Pochita's chainsaw face to hunt demons and like make a living growing up. And the show takes place when he's 16, and a thing happens to Pochita, and then a thing happens to Denji, and the means by which he then continues to hunt devils changes. But it's a lot of inspiration from things like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all sorts of different horror movies and things that you've seen. But it's also got a real like almost like kind of I'm saying another Matthew Vaughn, Mike Miller adaptation, but kind of like Kick-Ass in a way, where it's this like this scrappy up and coming superhero that's like kind of learning the ropes. But what's really great about Chainsaw Man and pushes it into that sort of legendary tier is that when the serious moments hit, they hit like a ton of bricks. Like they smack you on the head like a sledgehammer, and you're amazed that in the same show where there's a 16-year-old kid who 3 episodes, his primary motivations is just I want to squeeze some boobs. That's all I want to do. I just want to grab a handful of titty because I feel like I'm gonna die any day now. And it's like, you know what, you can. As much as it's like, oh, that's so immature, it's like, well, he's 16, so, you know, that kind of makes a ton of sense, actually. That's one of the things that this kid is flat out living for at this point. But, yeah, so that's my number 5, the animes.
Got it.
What about you?
So I had, speaking of 14-year-old boys, I had Rick and Morty season 6 on my top list.
Oh, yeah?
Just because, like this is why I don't know if it's because season 5 was so bad that like I'm glad that it came up to par, but like I just feel like it had a little bit for everyone. Like it had the canonical stuff with Rick's backstory, it had the good standalone episodes, and then Harmon's way of doing, there's a meta episode which was just phenomenal. Yeah. Now I'm gonna give it some time and watch it again, but yeah, so far I'm loving it more than definitely season 5, but it was just a good season overall. Mark, you never watched it, right?
Yeah, no, I think I fell off around season. Oh, hold on, what was the Captain Planet girl that Morty dates?
I think that's season 5.
Yeah, okay, so I kind of stopped during the middle of season 5 and just haven't gone back. I did play all of High on Life though.
Yeah, I heard that's pretty. Like I haven't played it yet, but I heard that's pretty good.
Yeah, you know, honestly, like it's a perfect Game Pass game. Like,
yeah,
it's on Game Pass, and wow, it's like the absolute perfect game to play on Game Pass because it's kind of good and like worth your time, but sort of not nearly good enough to justify its cost unless you are
play for free.
If you're a massive Justin Roiland fan.
Yeah.
Like if you're a huge Rick and Morty guy, then I could see this being worth the money just to be like, yeah, no, like I like this guy's work, and you know, it's a shooter, it's pretty good, it's pretty funny, like, and it is good. Like I think it's worth playing. And honestly, if you did say buy the Steam version, I wouldn't be like, oh man, you wasted your money. Now, if you bought the Steam version of the Callisto Protocol, I would tell you wasted your money.
I hear bad things about that game.
I bought the Steam version of Callisto Protocol and then returned it, but I also bought the PS5 version so that I could actually play a version that functions, and wished I could return that one because, man, that game sucks.
Oh, man.
Number 1, worst thing of the year, the Callisto Protocol.
There you go.
It beats AIDS. AIDS is
PS5 version or...
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter.
Oh, all versions, got it.
Yeah, you take a perfect version of that game, double the frame rate, double the resolution, the game still sucks.
Brutal.
But yeah, no.
To number 4, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. My number 4 is my favorite TV show from the year. Dragon Show Good. And my number 4 is House of the Dragon.
And that would be my number 3.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Number 4. Yeah, no, that's probably what I would have said there too. So yeah, we're ours are on the same one.
Well, let's have a little conversation about it. Now, Fonz, have you seen it?
I have not.
Darn. Okay, shoot. Dang it.
But like, you guys can talk about it because honestly, I don't think I'm going to watch that.
Okay.
Why?
Honestly, mainly because of the list of things that are on, like House of the Dragon is pretty low on that.
I seriously,
Game of Thrones just burned me too hard, bro.
I mean, and that's fair, but this, like, it almost seems like it's not even in the same universe because it's just so much better. I mean, not in the same universe as Game of Thrones seasons 1 to 4,
that's the problem. Like,
no, but like it seems enough like it could fit with those. But all it does is it makes Game of Thrones seasons 8 and arguably 7 and 6 worse.
Okay,
and they're already pretty bad.
So, if it's not as good as season 1 and 2 of Game of Thrones,
I'd say it's significantly better than both.
I would say it's better. It's not as good as season 1 of Game of Thrones, but it's better than season 2.
No, I'd say it's better than season 1 of Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay. See, where I would put House of the Dragon is that it's not as good as season 3 or season 4 or season 1 of Game of Thrones, but it's a lot better than season 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I mean,
I don't know. I think I might put it up there with season 4. I think the only one that I would give Game of Thrones over is 3. And 3, you got things like the red wedding in there that are really hard to fuck with.
Hey, I understand your opinion. I might not agree with it 100%, but I get where you're coming from. Don't.
So why do you guys think House of the Dragon is so good then?
Really, really, really good writing. Very, very well developed characters and.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. Finish.
Effectively, it does a very good job of making you understand what was actually good about Game of Thrones. And I think ultimately the answer is the characters. Because this actually has good characters that it takes time to develop, and they often develop in very interesting ways that aren't at all cliche, with one exception. Because, the 8th episode is kind of shit. But with one character thing they do at the end, that the girl boss moment, KJ, that involves a dragon and a ceremony, a dragon, and a bunch of dead people.
So my problem with her action there is that it was too aggressive, because.
Well, yeah, it makes no sense. Although, we'd have to spoil it to talk about it. But I'm saying that, her reason for saying, why even stopping where she did was saying that she didn't want to kill another mother, but she killed 700 mothers.
Well,
easily.
My thing is that Targaryens can be very hypocritical. It can be only not for thee, and also she's pretty aggressive. She doesn't seem like it.
True, but
her actress. Oh my god, great performance, because you can tell her face. Sometimes you can just tell she's furious.
The people who wrote and directed the episode aren't aware of that. Just so you know, because they talked about it as if it was a true moment of her gaining their power back. And when asked about, hey, what about all those innocent people she killed? She's like, oh well, it's Game of Thrones. Innocent people die and they don't matter. Was the director's answer? He's like, okay, well, that doesn't matter. That's not true.
That doesn't matter to me, because the only thing you can take from the work is from the work itself. And that's why I don't read interviews, and that's why I don't read any behind the scenes, but in between the episode. The episode's about. I don't really look into that stuff, because to me, the creator's voice has no more inherent value than the audience.
Well, that's true, but the thing that happens in the show is still kind of destroys that character. It makes her the most hypocritical character on a show that has a lot of people with really complex morality. But we're getting really drawn into focusing on one event that happens with one character that is, I would argue, bad. And I would argue that the reason to watch the show is that so many characters are so unbelievably good. Least of all, Matt, the way people always say it, Matt Damon Smith Targaryen. Matt Damon Smith. Because he's Matt Smith, who plays Daemon Targaryen, but it's so easy to end up saying Matt Damon because of that. Yeah. He's incredible. Patty Considine deserves an Oscar, even though that's a movie award.
Yeah, he steals every.
He deserves all the and I don't think he does in the first episode. Maybe even the first 2 episodes.
I don't know. But I think he has a real presence about him. That's really.
See, I would almost say that the better thing about his performance is that it's very unassuming at first.
Yeah.
And it seems very much like 50 characters you've seen in Game of Thrones at first too, but then. As it pushes further in, you kind of realize that, hey, this guy is, his heart is probably too good for the world that he's in.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he's not nearly as incompetent as a lot of the people that are in his life, as a lot of the people in his life think he is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things to love about this guy.
Yeah.
And he's sort of not he's not like he's portrayed in the book either, though. Because like from House of the Dragon made me decide to pick up Fire and Blood and read it, and I knocked it out in like a week. Yeah. And I think that reading Fire and Blood actually makes watching the show better, which is a strange thing for, like, ultimately you would be correct in saying that one of the primary reasons you would watch a show like this is to find out what happens, like for the mystery, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well, the neat thing about that though is because Fire and Blood's written like a history book, so the real version of these events is something that no one knows, because the way Fire and Blood's written is, it's like, well, it's this Maester and Septon's accounts, and Mushroom, who's this basically, like, he's basically Tyrion, just not, he wasn't, I mean, he's pretty close as far as like his personality. And also, we shouldn't really be talking about this too much because Mushroom is not on the show, so
that's even better.
Well, he's one of the sources of the book.
Yeah.
Well,
so like you understand.
What's interesting is that he's definitely around, because a couple of points in the show they actually use an account that's actually a lot closer to Mushroom's account. So he's around, and so when the showrunner said, "Oh no, he's around," I know that some fans thought that maybe that they were just lying, but no, they were telling the truth. Mushroom's around.
I don't think that it would be too difficult for them to put Mushroom onto the show if they wanted to add him, and I honestly think that not starting the show without him being a major character, I think was a mistake. Like because he's pretty important. Like does a lot of
No, I don't know that he's that important, because Mushroom's account is more lurid and more like, I heard blah blah blah, and he pretends to be in, like, I was during all these events, but really he was only around for some of them. He's definitely most likely going to be in season 2, because he was almost certainly in Aegon's court, just based on some of the things that he says, because some of the things that he says are backed up by the Septon's account. So he's probably showing up in season 2, probably as like a minor character, but I bet you he's probably going to be in season 2.
Yeah, maybe.
Just because he was almost certainly in Aegon's court, unless George Martin has decided he wasn't, which George has just decided to retcon things before. So it wouldn't surprise me. George has decided to be like, that's actually not how it happened. It's like, you fucking... So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me.
How many books, like, so House of the Dragon, right? It comes from Fire and Blood?
Yes.
Were there 2 Fire and Bloods?
Nope.
No, it's
in fact, and actually a good chunk of House of the Dragon actually doesn't even cover like the first third of Fire and Blood either.
No. It's the thing with House of the Dragon is that it is George Martin's, essentially the official version of events.
Well, but it's kind of not. It's sort of like that's what I mean. It's the accuracy of Fire and Blood is in question, and that's because it's like, well, I mean, like Oh wait, can I change this one? I don't know how these puzzles
that's
work.
primarily because what they have said and what George has said, and the reason why he's been so involved is because the way he wrote Fire and Blood was specifically to be like unreliable narrators, because the Septon was looking at certain sources sort of after the fact, and it's sort of like, well, this person wrote this thing down and this person wrote this thing down, and the Septon, what's interesting is the way he writes, he even acknowledges his bias of like, yeah, I know that this is supposedly what was written, but you know, based on certain things, I can't be 100% sure about the accuracy of some of this stuff. And then Mushroom's account is very suspect. So it is a book written entirely by unreliable narrators.
Yeah.
Which is
well,
what
and I
gives
think
the
that,
showrunners
but
so much wiggle room.
And that's well, the thing is, it gives them wiggle room, but also the fact that George is on the the actual show team is, I think, not to be discounted. Like, I think that is actually a pretty important reason why this is good. Hold on one sec again. But I think that what makes it interesting watching the show, having read the book, is that you can really sort of be surprised by the things that happen in like a way that you wouldn't think should be the case if it's like, okay, well, I already know how all this goes down. So like none of this is going to really affect my perspective in one way or another. But then like things happen that you're like, oh, so I guess that I don't know, the thing that happened with Lenore that didn't exactly happen the way it was. The way that it was seeming like it was going to go down is the way that it says it happens in the book. And then in the show it's like, oh, but yeah, that one rumor that was maybe briefly mentioned at one point, but it's like, but then was not overruled.
It was more or less dropped as like hearsay, essentially.
Yeah, swept away by the thing. Like sometimes those things end up being true, and that ends up being really solid. And I think that both Jaehaerys and, or not Jaehaerys, his, oh god, Viserys, Paddy Considine's character, Viserys and Daemon are much less villainous in real life than they are portrayed, or than they're remembered by history.
Yeah.
Like history kind of remembers them both as being like pretty shitty people, and it's like on the show, it's like, well, exactly. I mean, they're not the show version of them, not perfect guys. Saying that, don't get me wrong there, but I think but a lot of the stuff they do, it's like, oh, like their intentions were actually like pretty noble. Or like that guy had an honorable reason for doing this or that.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I really enjoy is the way that it foreshadows things, because like in the first episode, what does Viserys tell his daughter? Like what is one of the things he says when they're in the secret area with Balerion the Black Dread with all the candles and stuff?
Yeah.
Where he talks about the vision, but he also talks about, our control over the dragons is an illusion. Like he says that in episode 1, right?
Yeah.
And then it pays off in episode 10.
Oh yeah, very
because
much so.
The books portray.
Don't say too much.
Okay, well the books portray Aemond One-Eye as this sort of vicious, nasty, essentially evil person, right? And Alicent, right? Alicent is just this scheming, evil, like, bitch, right? And then it turns out, well, no, actually, no, not really. Some of the stuff that happens was totally behind her back, and she had no idea, And, the thing that happens with Aemond, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I love the look on his face. His actor really sells it. You know what I mean?
And all the performances in this show are so damn good.
Yeah, the performances are great. Yeah, so, when you have characters that are well-rounded and very well fleshed out, and there's a lot of nuance and a lot of depth to them, the show is really, really good. I'm actually excited for season 2. Like, that's crazy, but I'm actually excited to see where it goes,
if you told me that, hey, they shadow dropped season 2 while we were recording this, I'd end the stream and start it right now.
No, I would too. I would just.
Hey guys, we'll be back for part 3 on Sunday. I'll see you later.
Yeah, see you. I'm out of here. Peace.
And I know, technically I know what's gonna happen.
Well,
that's what I mean. In the strictest sense of the word, I know the basic events. I still would immediately stop this stream and go watch season 2 if it launched right now. I mean that to drive home how serious I am.
Yeah, I really liked it. Without spoilers, I will just say 2 things: Battle over the God's Eye, Hour of the Wolf.
Yep.
I mean,
that Battle over the God's Eye is going to be the craziest shit ever.
If they, I just got chills just thinking about it, legitimately. If they pull that off, if they pull that off, oh my god, because what Daemon does.
Yes, I do.
Will be, oh my god. I'm just picturing it in my mind, and if it's even half as good as the way I picture it, oh my god. And as well as Hour of the Wolf, because like, I mean, you know what I mean, like Hour of the Wolf.
Yes,
yeah.
I do.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be so cool. Again, if they can pull that off, oh my god.
Rocky.
So
Rocky heard you say Hour of the Wolf, so I was like, what? What's up?
But yeah,
it's like I'm here for it.
Yeah, but since
Stark Life.
But since that's my number 4 and Mark's number 4, Fonz, what's your number
4? Mine was Rick and Morty.
Oh.
That's why I thought, because I don't know, I think I missed one, or
yeah,
I only have a few left.
Okay, it's fine, it's whatever.
Yeah, it's all good. Mark, what do you have?
Okay, what should I get for my next one? This is my number 3.
Yeah, this is the bronze medalist. We're getting real serious shit now.
Okay, so I will say, oh my God, Rocky. I have a barking puppy. We might need to actually have someone else go next, because this may need to be the critical moment where I'm muted and subduing the dog.
Okay.
I'll go.
Yeah, go for it.
Kay, did you or have you ever watched wrestling before?
I have not, but I hear that, like, you know, people who like it, they seem to really, really enjoy it, and I like that.
Like, honestly, like, I used to watch it when I was in high school, and this year at WrestleMania, Stone Cold Steve Austin came back, and it was the craziest thing ever, because it's been like 20 years since he wrestled.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah, like, well, yeah. And so that's why that was my number 3, just because you would never have thought it was going to happen.
Yeah.
But it did, and it was kind of crazy at WrestleMania.
Yeah, no, I'm sure, especially if you're a long-term wrestling fan, like, that is like, whoa.
Like, I kind of, like, stopped watching. It's crazy that it's been going on weekly for almost 30, 40 years now. Like, it's crazy. So, like, I can't commit to that every week, but I used to watch it 20 years ago when Stone Cold was at his height of popularity.
Yeah.
Basically, like, the Hulk Hogan of the 80s. He was the Hulk Hogan of, like, 1999, 2000. But, you know, 20 years later, it was kind of cool to relive that.
Nice. Very, very nice.
Is Mark back yet?
I don't know if he's back.
Yeah, no, I've been here the entire time. I just I needed to be muted because Rocky was barking, but I've tamed the boy.
Okay, good.
Boy.
My number 3 is something that both of us can talk about, Mark. My number 3 is Surprise! 4 Secret Novels by Brandon Sands.
Right on.
The YouTube video, the Kickstarter, just all of it. All of it was just wonderful. It was so good. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm getting my swag box this month. I'm excited to see what's in it. I'll let you know what's in it, because me and Wade split the Year of Sanderson bundle. So, yeah, we went all in, because I was like, bro, I gotta go all in. And so I get the audiobooks and I get the swag boxes, but he gets all the really nice leather-bound hardcovers, which I had to give up.
That's a pretty decent toss-up.
Yeah, but for me, I just, by the way, finish Warbreaker, seriously.
Yeah, I think at this point, I need to restart it. I got too far thrown off.
Okay,
but yeah, I'll get it. Actually, though, I was on Aiden's show like a couple months ago. She's like, "Are we doing Warbreaker now?" I was like, "It's my fault. I need to finish the book. I keep on getting thrown off by other stuff and then going back and not remembering where I was.
Yeah,
I need to like tell you where I left off and be like, "Hey, give me a detailed story that'll like catch my memory."
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, maybe that's what I should do. I think if I read a synopsis just up to where I was, it'll like jog the long-term memory aspects of it.
Yeah, that might work.
But
yeah, I love the announcement. I'm so excited. I'm really looking forward to reading books 1 and books 3. I think Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. I'm really excited for that one. I'm also really excited for Tress of the Emerald Sea. I'm hoping that Travis does the recording for it, for the audiobook. Do you know who Travis is?
No.
He did a sample recording. He did a sample recording of the first, like, of the, the sample stuff that Brandon released.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a recording of that just for free on his YouTube channel. And I really like his narration. I think it stands out from Michael and Kate. And so since they're gonna be having some new people do it, I think he should do Chest of the Emerald Sea.
I was listening to Marc, who's actually ended up being on Friday Night Tights for like the whole last half of this year. Shadowversity, who he wrote a book called Shadow of the Conqueror, and he actually has done some work with Brandon Sanderson, I found out. And he like his oh wait, hold on, what was now I'm forgetting why I brought up Shad. Wait, sorry, what was the last thing you were saying?
No, I was just saying I want Travis to maybe narrate it.
Oh yeah, I was saying his book is actually narrated by David and Kate. Yeah.
Oh, but yeah,
David Kramer and Kate.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael Kramer. Yeah,
Michael Kramer.
Is it Michael Kramer and Kate Reddick?
Yeah.
And he does their voice acting too. So I was like, oh shit. I was like, this just sounds like a Stormlight Archive book.
Yeah.
And it was nice. His book's good too. I recommend it.
Good. But that's my number 3. I didn't want to touch on it too long. Just besides, like, I'm really excited for this year. That's gonna be like a big highlight in terms of like a non-video game, non-TV show thing. I'm so excited.
Well, yeah, I got the hardcover books and audiobook version. No, so I'm not getting any goodies, but I am still getting the books.
All right, I'll let you know what's in the swag bags.
Yeah, I couldn't justify it, although I gotta say the miniatures campaign that launched not too long after is everything I probably would have wanted in the swag box.
I supported that as well.
Yeah, I just got the painted ones.
That's what I did. Yeah, I got the painted set because I was like, those would look really cool on like a shelf or something.
Yeah, and those would be the things that honestly, if that came in one of the Year of Sanderson boxes and I missed it, that would be probably the only thing I'd be legitimately sad that I missed.
Well, I don't want to depress you, but I think they are putting an exclusive miniature in one of the swag boxes.
And that's fine. But if I missed like if I couldn't get Kaladin, I'd be like, oh, come on, I can't get the main character.
I think it's one of the heralds.
Probably Nile.
That's what I think it is. It's probably Nail or Nile or whatever. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Because I noticed they did an artistic render of what he would look like if he were painted. So I was like, okay. It's like I have a feeling he might get added. But
really cool design.
Is it just this game doesn't like ray tracing? I think that might be the deal with this. The Spider-Man game looks really good with the ray tracing on when you're indoors, but the performance starts tanking outside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, ray tracing can really tank your game. Anyway, who's next?
Marc, you're next.
Okay, so my number 3 is... Let's see, which one should... Oh, you know what? I'll do this one here. So I'm actually lied. It's not going to be above... all the other TV things. At number 3, I have Better Call Saul.
Ooh.
Oh, I have it at number 2, but we can talk about it.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm pissed.
Season 6 or at all?
No, at all.
Oh,
okay.
Just start. You'll be finished in like 4 days. And
I don't binge TV.
Yeah. Say that.
I'll end up watching. I usually watch 2 or 3 episodes like a day and kind of like ruminate on them and think about them.
Were you a big fan of Breaking Bad?
I love Breaking Bad is one of the shows on my TV Mount Rushmore, along with The Wire and the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, as well as The Sopranos.
Oh, that's a pretty good list. The only thing there that I haven't watched is The Sopranos, oddly enough.
Oh, really? That was the start of TV's golden age.
I will be taking back your Italian card.
But like, I
never thought it would be me taking yours, Fonz.
There was a time when I just got tired of just mafia things, and then like I just never got back into it. But besides that, like, Better Call Saul as a whole is probably the best prequel of any media I've ever seen. Like it just does it so well. Like, it enhances the story, but it actually just tells its own story at the same time. And season 6 though, like, just banger. Every episode is I'm pretty sure every episode is good. I haven't watched it again fully. I was starting to, but it's so good. Yeah. Bob Odenkirk almost died to bring it to you.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it's quite the show, and I would I would love to talk about it in more detail, but I think it's going to be another one of those things that if I start talking about the reasons why it's on my list and is as good as it is, I might have to end up blowing some stuff. And if KJ hasn't seen any of it,
it's one thing if it's one thing if he hasn't seen season 6, but he hasn't seen the series as a whole. Like
I know that the actor who played Voss from Far Cry 3 is in it, and he turns in a really good performance from what I hear.
Yeah, he's really great in it.
Great.
Plays Nacho.
I can't think of any bad performances in that show.
Yeah.
Like everyone's kind of good in their role and pretty crucial. Like there's no like character that's just not needed for the time that they're being used for.
Yeah. Very nice.
So good.
Very nice.
So good.
Very nice.
So what do you got, KJ?
For my number 2?
Yeah.
It's a pretty big one. This is my favorite YouTube video of the year and one of my favorite like analyses or whatever of like all time. Truly like wonderful. It is Action Button Reviews Boku no Natsuyasumi. It is a 5-hour 40-minute long detailed breakdown of Boku no Natsuyasumi, but also of Tim Rogers' like childhood. He was a former like part-time writer for Polygon. He's the one that did the 40-minute long review of I think it's Dragon Quest 11. I think he's pretty famous for doing that, but he basically did like a couple of opinion things here and there. But then
I really like his Cyberpunk review, and his Doom review is incredible too.
Yes, I love his Cyberpunk 2077 review. So he left Polygon and started Action Button Reviews, and then he started doing very long form analysis of various video games. But he's sort of the epitome of what I want when it comes to long form content, which is that, you know, talking about art, and it also like how art reflects on you, and how you are reflected in the art you're talking about. I really, really, really enjoy his videos because of how personal they are, and how unique they are in terms of it's a very singular.
Oh yeah, he's got a real style to it.
Yeah, he has a real style.
I always said that he's like, imagine if instead of making movies, like Wes Anderson made video game reviews.
Yeah,
and that kind of gives you impression like they're oddly creative, I think would be probably the way to put it.
Yeah.
But it's I actually have not seen that one, but it makes me think that now I should watch it.
Yeah. It's really, really good. It's not like, how should I put this? It's not like other types of reviewers are not good. There's obviously a place on YouTube and in, general discussion of art for people like White Light or Racevic or Mahler, who are more analytical and less personable.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that in terms of the stuff that really connects with me, I really like it when the artist is the person talking about the art, if that makes sense. It's not just an individual talking about the art. It's like another artist is talking about art in a way that reflects them as a singular artist, which is also what I really like about Disney Channel's theme, Internet, the History by Defunctland, because Kevin Pajura talks like several times throughout about like, I wonder if this person is okay with being remembered for a 4-note little ditty for commercial breaks for a massive corporation. Like, what do they think about this? Like, are they okay with being remembered like this? And how does the artist have any say in how they're remembered by their art? And it's a really, really good video. But yeah, much like that, the Action Button Reviews Boku no Natsuyasumi, he goes into his life in Japan when he worked for Sony Computer Entertainment, and about his coworkers, and about how he was when he was a young man, just starting out in Japan. And it's just a very, very good video, especially when he visits his old elementary school, because he he returned back home where he lived in Kansas, and he recounts how like driving down the road and he just points and he's like, wait, I grew up like right over there. And so they stop and he cruises around this apartment complex because his father worked in the military, and so his family moved several times. And so just going into that, it's like you get a real feel for Tim as a human being and not just as a reviewer. You get to peek behind the mask. And I just every video he puts out, I'm like, okay, this is the best video he'll ever do. And then he does another video and I'm like, no, okay, now this is the best video he'll ever do. Because I thought that when he made the review on Tokimeki Memorial, about the concept of romantic games or visual novels literally, how should I put this, itemizing and breaking down like romance itself, and it's literally a what was the word he used, not subjugation, but it's like where you break it down and it's like purest sense, where it's like it's not objectifies. That's it. He talks about how romance is literally objectified through the act of playing the game, and I was like,
I guess that's fair, and it's something that you say is fair of like any game where there are multiple romantic options to pursue, because ultimately they're not creating a living being that you're supposed to go interact with and think of your own words in which to charm them, your own experiences with them to relate to them and speak to them in ways that they might find attractive. It's just there's certain responses that you can say to Bastila that will have her be your Jedi Queen and Azullik, and if you say those, you're good.
Yeah.
Like it's very, very, very specific.
Yeah. And so and then he released the Cyberpunk 2077 review, and I'm like, this is such a brilliant way to structure a review. This is the best video he'll ever do. And then he came out with Action Button Reviews Boku no Natsuyasumi this year, and I'm like, last year.
His Cyberpunk review gives me anxiety for thinking about how he was able to write it.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, Jesus, like this must have taken forever.
Oh yeah.
Like, because it's basically, Fonz, I'm assuming you haven't seen it, so it's basically like a video review that's structured like a choose your own adventure novel. But it's like it's not one video though. It's like 8 videos, so you gotta kind of like jump around to each one depending on like what sort of review you personally would like to see of Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so check this one out. It's really, really good. But yeah, that's my number 2.
Wow. Mark, do you have anything? Because I know me and you have the exact same number 1, so.
I wouldn't be so sure about that, because I'm willing to bet that there's 0 chance your number 1 is the same as mine.
Oh, okay. Then what's your number 2?
My number 2 are the 2 main action-adventure video games, which I played this year. And yes, I need to give 2 to the 1 spot, because I kind of can't give a solid answer as to which one of these games I definitively like more, even though ultimately I think Elden Ring is my game of the year, so I would say that would be the one. However, I think God of War Ragnarok is definitely a game that everyone should play at their earliest opportunity, because it does for storytelling in video games what I think Elden Ring does as a version of an example of the FromSoft genre. Hold on one second, though. I really need to blow my nose.
Okay.
Hey, did you play God of War?
I did not.
No, me neither.
Okay.
I don't have a PS5. I really want to play Demon Souls really bad.
Yeah.
Demon Souls, honestly, like you can wait on. It is the same game that it was.
Exactly. I'm an OG. I started the series with Demon Souls. I love Demon Souls.
Well, and then in that case, you can definitely wait, because it's not really any different. It just runs a lot better and it looks nicer.
I want to replay it so bad. I want to replay it so.
Oh, I'm just saying, don't buy a PS5 for that. Like, just wait for the PC version that will inevitably come out, because I think for Demon Souls there's no chance the Demon Souls one isn't coming out.
It's been a while, just so we're all clear.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true, but also like PlayStation since releasing Demon Souls has like done things like bought Nixie, which is the studio that they've been using for porting PC games, and they flat out said that they're bringing every PlayStation franchise to PC. So,
okay.
I mean, and then people are like, oh yeah, but they're never going to release The Last of Us on PC. It's like, okay, well, Last of Us is coming out on March 17th, so what now? Like, what's the sacred cow that they absolutely will not take away from the
Bloodborne
fans? I mean, okay, they haven't given that one to PlayStation fans. Like, Bloodborne, anyway. I don't think anyone can make a definitive statement about what's going on with Bloodborne on like from the business standpoint, because it's like, man, how much money is Sony leaving on the table by not just fixing the line of code that stops it from running properly? Yeah. Do you guys follow Lance McDonald on Twitter?
No.
So he's the guy who used a PS4 dev kit to mod Bloodborne to run at 60.
Oh, nice.
And not only that, the frame pacing issue that's even an issue in Elden Ring is apparently the result of like one line of code that like can be fixed, and it's just for some reason they don't. That Sony doesn't want to patch it, and it's like he's like, I don't get it. It's really not hard to get this game running at 60 FPS. It's like they just don't want to do it. No. And I think that the dark truth will be revealed when we find out that I'm willing to bet the reason is because Sony wants to do a super special premium remake, ground up remake of Bloodborne the remake, everybody. $70, please. And it's just Bloodborne with a texture pack on it and the frame rate fixed.
You're fucking right, I bet. Oh my god.
I mean, like, prove me wrong, Sony, please. I'm asking you specifically to prove me wrong. It's not a challenge. I really want you to. Please, it's a request. but yeah, so that's I think what scares me about that. But God of War Ragnarok though was an incredibly well written story, and they did a great job of adding combat mechanics to a combat system that was already pretty well fleshed out. I think that it has a lot of issues with its camera. Not as bad as Callisto Protocol, really, because there are still things that God of War Ragnarok does which help you manage the camera. Hold on one sec. This is why I'm apparently coughing more frequently than I was last time. I don't remember having to mute this often. But the and the other main downside I'd say the game has is that it sometimes looked too good. And what I mean by that is the environments looked so good and everything that was interactive looked so good that it was kind of hard to tell what you could interact with and what you couldn't. And the reason that became a problem was because it is also fundamentally like God of War Ragnarok is like a Metroidvania game where you have abilities that will unlock areas that you can then go to and revisit old areas and discover secrets that you couldn't get to before. So when it's like, hey, there's a ledge, there's a chest that it looks like you can reach, it's like, okay, but can I reach this now? Or am I going to need some other item that I don't even know? I don't even understand the concept of. So I'm not even thinking, okay, so I need the thing that's going to, I don't know, let me teleport or whatever it would be. That thing doesn't exist in the game. But I'm saying if you're trying to think, okay, this is why I can't reach this. Yeah. What blows my mind about it is so much of the game, it's hard to tell what of the environment you can actually clamber over. Yeah. So it's like, oh man, like we're starting to get to the point that maybe having more clear-cut differences between game graphics and like background, like bitmaps or whatever, maybe having those things be a little bit more easy to tell apart would be a good thing. And I honestly think that the God of War games, it's the camera. The camera is the reason, because if it was fixed camera angles like the original God of War games and this one, then it wouldn't be very hard to figure out where you can and cannot go. It's when you can just be looking around in any direction that you're like, oh, well, wait, I see another chest right there. Wait, how do I get to it? And yeah, that was a bit annoying. But at the same time, it was not game ruining at any point. It was just like, I feel like I should be able to get to that, and you'd have to find another way around.
Yeah.
But the combat was very tight, and most importantly, the story was not only better than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be, because a lot of people were saying, oh, this is definitely going to be the Last of Us 2 of the God of War franchise.
Yeah.
But I think it's easily the best story in the entire series. And
nice.
Yeah, I think they absolutely nailed it as far as subverting expectations in ways that are actually better than what you were thinking should happen.
Hello, House of Dragon just called. They do that too. You know
yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that didn't. I know. I know actually quite a few reasons why they do that more than once.
Yeah,
but I think
it's always satisfying. It's always satisfying. You're always like, yeah, that was really cool. It's just fucking. God damn it,
and
Ryan Johnson.
I think one of the best ways they do it in God of War that is not really a spoiler. Like this is something that actually you can't watch on my channel because I unlisted my God of War playthrough because I want to have them go public when it's all finished and I have an editor working on them for me. I think though that the easiest way to see what I mean by this is if you watch the first scene with Odin and Thor. Like, because basically there's a scene at the beginning of the game where Odin and Thor both visit Kratos and Atreus at their house, and you kind of see how they how they act, and it's pretty crazy the first time you see it because Odin in particular is very unassuming and has, as funny, speaking of Sopranos, has sort of like a New Jersey gangster vibe to him, more so than like, say, the Anthony Hopkins Thor in the Marvel movies or anything like that. And Ryan Hurst's Thor character is just like, awesome. He's this really like reluctant and depressed alcoholic that has just seen so much death in his life and is kind of done with it, but he's still very good at it and very capable of it. So it's there's a lot to like about God of War Ragnarok. Nice. The other part of my number 2 is Elden Ring. And Elden Ring is just a really, really solid video game that has a lot of flexibility to it. I have 20,000 words written on it, and eventually I'll turn that into a video and consider that to be where I will talk to you all about Elden Ring.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I feel bad for Elden Ring for people that say it doesn't have a story. It's like, it is hard to grasp it, and the game does not help you understand the story, but the story is pretty epic.
And I think I would actually say that Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok are sort of reverse in that respect, where there is a lot of good about God of War's combat. It's just there are some things that make it really unapproachable or like really difficult to call good in an easily recommendable way. Whereas I think Elden Ring's story and storytelling is actually incredible and honestly kind of masterful in its own way. It's also not really this, like, it's hard to compare it against God of War's story because it's sort of a different type of story. It's like you got the straightforward like HBO series turned into a video game that is God of War Ragnarok versus, weird obscure lore that might make you scared if you really think about what's actually happening.
Yeah. Awesome. KJ, KJ, what you got?
Am I the only one with number 1 left? Or
no,
I have
Marc's got a number 1.
Well, no, I mean like, Fonz, do you have number 2 or did you?
No, I don't have anything left because I thought Marc had Elden Ring at number 1.
Okay. So your number 1 is Elden Ring.
My number 1 was Elden Ring. Like I spent half the year playing that game.
Well,
Fonz, you should maybe say something
you
about
kick
it.
us off. Tell me why Elden Ring is so fucking good.
Like I told you, it was an unreal. Well, like Marc said, like you could play the game any which way you want. Like the freedom of the game is unreal. Where you want it to go, what you want it to do. Mm-hmm. but at the same time, like there was a story unveiling itself to you, which it like you've never played it, so I don't want to ruin too much of the story.
I just didn't finish it.
He's also played a fair amount of Dark Souls games that he understands the type of storytelling.
Yeah. Out of Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, okay, yeah. So like, yeah.
Hours. Oh, yeah.
And so I've never played Dark Souls 1 or 2, but like, you know, like there's no real story unless you want to go uncover it.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they've done like such a job that Elden Ring did. And it was just unreal. Like I had no problems like booting it up whenever I could, right? Like it didn't matter what else there was to do that day. Like just playing Elden Ring was just fun and enjoyable, and it really grasped me.
I know that Elden Ring is one of those games that every time I think about it when I'm actually playing it, that I say, hey, if push comes to shove and this was the only video game you were ever allowed to play again, how mad would you be? And I'm like, honestly, I think I wouldn't be that mad.
Yeah. There's enough here. Like just keep going through it over and over again, just different ways and getting different endings.
Yeah, and have it be actually different and not technically different enough that a different playthrough actually is a different experience. It's not just oh yeah, you got the blue ending instead of the green one. It's like, no, I played as a guy who uses 2 great shields and no other weapons. Like,
yeah.
And then in another one I was a mage who wore a bikini. Yeah, like I mean it was like, oh yeah, and then I was a ninja who was flat out unstoppable. And I mean there's like, okay, and crafting that isn't as easy as picking it from the menu, right? Like it's like, well,
the progression's really good.
You pick your base stats at the beginning, but like realistically, you could turn any one of those base classes into any other end game class over the course of the game. Especially if you start respecing right away, like just being like, okay, I've got a bunch of intelligence in this character that I'm not going to use any magic with, so just never any points into intelligence again, and you're just constantly putting stuff into dex. Like, yeah, you're going to be good with bleed weapons.
Well, also Ronaldo allows you to do that at any point.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you do have to beat Ronaldo in order to do that. But you can level up you can become level 100 before you ever get to Ronaldo if you want.
Yeah, well, you don't have to. Like that's the other thing too. Like you don't have to beat her, right?
Is she one of the ones that you do have to beat though?
I don't.
Actually, no. Wait, can you get to? I think you can. I think you can get to the. You have to open up the way to her.
Yeah, but you don't actually have to fight her.
I don't think you actually have to kill her. To get to the capital, you need to get to the area on the other side of the Raya Lucaria Academy, but I don't think you have to kill her to get to that other entrance. You might actually just have to even get into the main entrance.
I'm just trying to think.
I forget what opens up the direction kind of from the Raya Lucaria Academy to the northeast is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, but there's also another way. There's also another way to get up top too.
Up top, like to the elevators?
The mountain area.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think there's 2 or 3 ways to get up there.
Oh, now. I mean, I originally got up there by getting transported by the abductor version.
Yeah, there's one way, right? So then you can just skip Raya Lucaria altogether.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, like, because of all this...
I guess not altogether, because the abductor version gets you inside Raya Lucaria Academy, but you don't have to finish it.
Oh no! Isn't there one that brings you to? Which one's the snake one now? Oh, it's been so long.
No. Yeah, the other version underneath the Raya Lucaria Academy.
Yeah, and then
it brings you to
the castle, the manor.
the volcano manor. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
But yeah. And I'd say Elden Ring is still my game of the year. I want to throw in as an honorable mention now that we're talking about video games though, because I also forgot to mention this one, Proteus, which I kickstarted. It's a really good kind of Doom-like first-person shooter, and Sifu, which is still not on Steam, and that pisses me off. Slow Clap Studios. I bought it on PlayStation, and I have a DRM free copy on PC. How I acquired that? Not telling.
I'll never tell.
But I will. I'll say this though, just in case anyone wants to like find me or something. I will buy it the day it comes to Steam. I just don't use the Epic Store, and I really wanted to use the Daredevil costume mod.
Oh, nice.
It really does. It's super good. You're just like, oh god, this is the best Daredevil game that's ever been made. It's actually perfect. And it's just a Daredevil costume on the slow clap guy or the Sifu guy.
Nice. Good deal.
But yeah. All right, so KJ, what's your number one?
Okay, I guess I gotta just bear the hate. My number one, unironically, is Genshin Impact.
Seriously?
Seriously. It's the most fun I've had with a game this year. I've put over like 300 hours into it.
Are you playing it on your phone?
No. Oh no. I play it on PC.
I don't know.
I don't play game. I don't play games on my phone. No.
Lots of people play Genshin Impact on their phone. I assume that might be how you got into it.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that they do, because I guess you can. I guess it's designed to be played on your phone, but I don't think that's
why would you want to play a game on your phone that has so many sexy waifus? I mean, it's really, really awkward when you start beating off in public.
People do call it Breath of the Waifu, which is pretty funny. I really like that name. I really do like that name, Breath of the Waifu. Although I will say, I think it is another hot take. I think it's actually considerably better than Breath of the Wild, actually. So. Yeah.
I mean, I played it around the time I was making my Breath of the Wild video. I definitely think it runs better than Breath of the Wild. But design-wise, you probably know more about it than I do at this point.
Yeah.
I did find it kind of interesting, but I was also like, it's kind of crazy to think that like Nintendo. Basically, I used it as an example of like, hey, Nintendo's whole thing with like, yeah, we need to have you come here to play the Nintendo games where Nintendo lives, you know, like on a real Nintendo console. It's like, yeah, okay, then again, Honkai, is Honkai the name of the company?
No.
Or MiHoYo? Yeah, MiHoYo.
MiHoYo Labs, yeah.
What does Honkai have to do with them? Why did that word? Is that like their other game?
I think that might be like another like a mobile game they have, maybe. I'm not really familiar with some of their other games. I just play Genshin. I don't really play.
All right. Well, anyways, I think that a lot of people would kind of think like, well, I guess if Nintendo, if you're not going to sell these people that game, then we'll make a similar version.
Yeah, because essentially what they did is that they took the gliding and the climbing and just the fun of exploration.
And the art style kind of too, to a degree. Like, I mean, it's pretty close.
But what they did is that they just made the combat a little more intricate and a little more involved. And they made it where the weapons don't fucking break every 5 seconds. So...
Yeah, that part about...
Yeah. So in terms of like the way Genshin Impact functions, you have 4 characters in your party, but you only play one at a time. So the play of Genshin, because it's not PvP, it's all PvE. And while PvP is in there, it's just prop hunt. Because occasionally they'll just bring up prop hunt, and that is technically, I guess, PvP. Do you know Hearthstone? Do you know what Hearthstone is?
Yeah.
So imagine if Blizzard put Hearthstone inside World of Warcraft, because that's one of the most recent big updates in Genshin.
I mean, that's basically like Gwent in Witcher.
Yeah, that's what they did. They essentially made a version.
It's kind of the other direction, though. But
they essentially made a card game that is like it's like a mix between the League of Legends card game and Hearthstone, essentially.
Yeah, I never played the League of Legends one, but
so it's essentially like that, but it's nice because they just stuck it in the game, which is quite enjoyable. I will say that like that's the most fun you have with the game. Just be chill and enjoy the events as they come out, and don't pay money because there's plenty of whales that do that for you. So the game will just keep on going. It'll keep on trucking. You got to do shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that where how many hours would you say you put into roughly too? Like, I'm not looking for specifics, just rough estimate.
Almost 300, or probably over.
Okay, yeah, like a fair amount. So, but I imagine you would probably have a decent concept of what the monetization system is like and how viable free play is?
Yeah.
Could you tell us maybe a bit about that? Like,
Yeah,
what's
sure.
if you're wondering, like, hey, like maybe I'm not going to spend any money, but what are going to be the things that are going to make me want to? Because I don't know if I trust myself to not.
The
if
game
I'm
bamboozles you. The game bamboozles you because they'll have character banners, and this is the loot box version of things where you wish for characters.
Oh,
They will run limited banners for characters. They let you play those characters for free, and they even give you a little loot for it. That's how they kind of get you, because they'll be like, oh well, that character's pretty fun, don't you? And we just gave you some of their level up materials, so I don't know, maybe you should roll for that character.
Do you want to just let them go to waste?
Yeah. Of course, what they don't tell you is that you can always use those materials for other characters that you might have. So you might just play a character that you don't even like just to grab a quick little.
They're banking on the whales in question being people who don't actually think too much about the mechanics.
Well, they're banking on FOMO, because they are not totally. They are transparent about your chances, and they are transparent about what characters are going to be on the banner. But the developers themselves seem to have a preference for certain characters. So certain characters will get reruns quicker than other characters. So, for example, Yomiya, which is a bow user and uses the pyro element, they've had her rerun like multiple times.
Oh, I think I had her.
Yeah, fucking multiple times, and I don't know. She's a good character, but like, oh my god, the developers seem.
I definitely had a fire archer who was like a redhead girl.
That's Amber.
She was like.
That's Amber. Okay. So the game gives you multiple characters for free. They start by giving you Amber for free, and who is a bow user and uses pyro. Honestly, she's probably the shittiest character they give you for free, because they then proceed to give you much better characters for free just by playing the game. The first one, which you get like 10 minutes later, is Kaya, who is a sword user and uses the cryo, or the ice element.
Okay.
Not only is he viable, but he's easy to play and can be very effective. So he's like kind of worth building, honestly. And then the other characters they give you for free are Lisa, and she's just fine. She's a catalyst user she's a mage character, and she uses the electro element, or lightning. Of course, she is the big titty goth GF. She refers to herself as your One-sama, and proceeds.
Yeah, no, I've 100% seen like 5,000 cosplays of her. So
she's like, oh, I am your One-sama. Ooh, ara. She's one of those characters. And what's also funny about Lisa is that she moans as she climbs, and apparently this is an urban legend, but apparently her Japanese VA would moan so much that the director had her to tell her to tone it the fuck down. So I like to believe that's true, because that's super funny. Just like, bro, can you please fucking stop? And then they give you Zhengling, who is a spear user and uses pyro, and she's not only very viable, but she's like considered one of the better characters in the game, as well as Barbara, who is a catalyst user and uses hydro. So they give you all the characters for free, and the first time you wish, you are guaranteed Noelle right out of the bat, which is a Claymore user who uses Geo. She's more of a tank character. She's fine. But
it's my sister's name, so she's out.
Well, there you go. And so if you want to run a team comp using just free characters, you use Kaya, you use Zhengling, and you use Lisa, and you use Traveler. But the problem with Traveler is that Traveler's Amino, who's the air element, is okay. The Electro isn't very good, and the Geo isn't very good. Of course, you get all those for free just as you go through the story. But Traveler gets super fucking viable when you hit the most recent land they've released, which is Sumeru, I think is what it's called. It's the Dendro, or the plant element. And Traveler is super fucking viable when you get that element, which is the point where they become like an A-list character. They go from like D-list to A-list like that, because the way they designed Traveler is like super good. And also the Dendro-based hybrid applications are the most really good in the game. Like, I run a Burgeon and a Hyperbloom team comp, because the way you play the game is that you are trading in and out characters that have different elements to get different elemental reactions. So water, so hydro and cryo are freeze, team comps. And so you freeze the enemy in place, and they can't move, they can't do anything, and you can just get a bunch of free hits on them. Vaporize, which is Pyro and Hydro. Overcharge, which is Pyro and Electro. And then Burgeon, which is Dendro and Pyro, which does a massive blast of AoE, which is really good. But the even one that's even better, arguably, is Hyperbloom, which is Electro and Dendro. But you also have to have a Hydro character. Which the reason why they made it so good is they made it more complicated to set up because you have to have Hydro on the field. Because when you have Hydro on the field and you use Dendro, it creates these little like plant buds, and those are the things that create the real elemental reaction. So essentially, you're a crack-addled, hyper-violent alchemist, and you gotta do the different applications. There are a lot of fun characters, but none of the characters that you pay for are necessary to play the game. But if you want to support the game, which I do spend money on the game, I do support them, do the Battle Pass. Because the Battle Pass is short, it's 50 levels, it's sweet, and it's super easy to get all 50 levels of. I have never failed to get all 50 levels with like 2 weeks left on the Battle Pass.
Right on.
Yeah, so when it's $20 every like 2.5, 3 months, because they don't do the Battle Pass monthly. It's like every 3 months. The rewards change a little bit. They're mostly they don't change. It's a ton of great loot, and when you get to level 30, you get a pretty awesome weapon for free. I recommend Black Sword first. It has crit rate as its substat and has a good attack base stat, and it works with pretty much any sword character that needs crit rate. It's a great weapon. The Solar Pearl, which is the catalyst, is also pretty good. And I also like the polearm, deathmatch, which I think is what it's called. So if you're gonna spend money, just do the Battle Pass, because you know all the rewards you're gonna get ahead of time, and you don't have to get levels by doing something crazy like, oh, you have to kill a boss by doing an overcharge reaction. Like, it's just like, okay, you need to kill 10 bosses this week. Do the domains 15 times this week, and just I don't know, mine items every day, and you only gotta mine like 10 of them, and you can do that in like a minute. I'm not even joking. Like, you can do some of these in like a minute.
Well, I mean, as I was saying before, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a game that needs to be viable playing on a cell phone, because they've also released it as a mobile game. So
So the funnest part of the game is honestly exploration, because there are multiple like puzzles in the game where there's no quest markers, there's no like, you have started a quest. It's just you see a chest behind a gate and you're like, how the fuck do I open that? And so you just explore and knock things around for 30 minutes trying to figure out how the hell you open this gate. And then when you finally open the gate, it's really satisfying. You get a ton of great loot. There's one where you have to do a lot of mountain climbing, and it's really difficult, honestly, if you do it earlier in the game when you don't have as much climbing strength, and that's when I recommend you do it, because it's super fun. But yeah, overall, that's kind of the benefit of the game, is it's pretty quick and clean, it's easy to play, and you get wishes, and you get Primogems just by playing the game, so you get wishes whether or not you pay for them. It's just you don't give in the FOMO. That's what kills you. Spending money for the premium currency, that's the FOMO thing. Especially if they release 2 really good characters in the same banner, where you're like, oh fuck, where it's really hard to choose, because you're like,
if only I had 2.
Yeah, if only I had more money, and I can buy. It's like, not do it, because that's how they get you.
Good news, the best value.
because they'll always re-release those characters.
Oh, there we go.
Except for Hu Tao and Eula. Press F in chat for those 2 characters, because holy shit. I honestly, I have all the material needed to get Eula to level 90 right after getting her. I'm just waiting for a fucking banner to come back. Yeah, I have the wishes, I have the supplies, I have like a weapon, like I have everything to build her all the way up, and they just won't fucking release her, and I'm like, god damn it, MiHoYo, just fucking run a banner with Eula. Oh man, so that is the one problem sometimes, is that some characters will get 3 reruns in like 6 months, and other characters won't get a rerun in like 13 months. So that can be a little bit annoying, because they're always releasing new characters, and some of the new characters are really fucking fun. Like the most recent one I got, oh, I'm so happy I got him. Oh my god, is Wanderer. who is he's an airbender, but he also plays like he's a fucking Dragon Ball Z character, and it's so much fun.
Wow.
But yeah, so yeah, that's my number one. It's a good game, but if you're gonna spend money, get the battle pass, because that you get plenty of fucking loot with the battle pass, and instead of spending $100 on premium, fucking don't do it. It's $20 every 3 months, and that's.
But the best value is at $149.
They don't have anything that high, thankfully, but it's shocking how much some of these banners make. I mean, some of these banners make like $100 million in like, a couple of weeks, and you're like, where are all these people coming from? Although, to be fair, there are like 400 million monthly users, so to be fair, the amount of money the game makes isn't that surprising, because even if there's like 1,000 whales out of that many people, like, they're still going to make plenty of money off of the hundreds of million of people like me who are not whales, because I have occasionally dabbled into.
Oh, it's something. Yeah,
I'm gonna spend $5.
Well, I mean, it's actually, that was always the thing I would say about the example that I was using, because Fonz, I think I might have been having this conversation with you. If not, I'm not sure who it was with, but about Overwatch skins. Because I remember it was taking me forever to get a few of the Overwatch skins I actually wanted, and I was just like, man, I feel like they could have made way more money off me than they've ever made from like Overwatch loot boxes, if they just let me, say, buy the Lucio skin that he kind of looks like Deadmau5, but it's a frog, for like $20, $10 even. So I think $10, $10 would be reasonable, because for character skins, because the way I think about that is like, okay, that's like an action figure.
You don't roll for you don't roll for
and I mean, and that's good, which is why, like, I'm always like, I think that, like, ultimately the thing that pisses me off the most is when you force me to pay a whole bunch of money for a chance at things, instead of just charging me more to just buy the thing I want.
That's what Genshin does. Genshin does not make you roll for cosmetics. They don't have a ton either. They have like a few cosmetics, and several of the best cosmetics they gave away for free as quest items. So, like, Fischl's thing is like really good. Like, you can buy Fischl's thing, but they also gave it to you for free if you completed the event. Of course, that is the one drawback of Genshin Impact, because they do have events all the time where you get loot and you get you can get free characters. Like, I've gotten several free characters by doing events. I've gotten, I want to say, 4 from doing events. And so they give you those characters for free. But the thing is, they don't rerun events like ever, except for Prop Hunt. Prop Hunt, they rerun every like 6 months. They're like, hey guys, play more Prop Hunt. You're like, okay, I'll play more Prop Hunt. That is the one drawback, is that it's almost like you want to follow them on Twitter, like the official Genshin Impact Twitter, so that if there's an event that's coming up and you haven't played the game in like a month, you
can prepare.
Like, oh shit, I need to get on that event, because I'm going to get a free skin and a free weapon, or I'll get a free weapon, or I'll get a bunch of loot, or I'll get a free character and a free weapon. So that's because I recently got a really fun looking, the haunted umbrellas from Neo.
Yeah.
I got a version of that, but it's a sword.
Oh, cool.
It's just it's an umbrella with like a big eye and stuff. And it's like, oh, that's fun, but I got that for free. And during the event, leveling it up cost half as much. So it's like, that was really cool to get, because I know what character I'm going to use it on if I actually get that character. But yeah, I'm planning on playing it more tomorrow. I play it pretty much every day. I actually played it a little bit before we started recording.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
Well, I mean, you could have been playing it the entire time we've been recording as well.
That's true, but I wanted to play some Age of Empires 2 for cohesiveness.
Ah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I was gonna play Final Fantasy 14, but I ended up seeing Spider-Man Remastered here and being like, I think I could pretty casually play Spider-Man, because like I know what happens in the story, so I didn't really need to pay attention to the first bit. And now I'm just kind of swinging around the city collecting backpacks and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a nice New York map they made here. Nice. So are we ready for my number one then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my number one is the Steam Deck.
Ooh.
I should have known. Yeah.
I can honestly say that, unlike media that I've seen this. Although, wait, now I realize that I forgot. Oh, I totally forgot something. I restructured my list with the things, and then Steam Deck is still my number one. But quick honorable mentions that should be in the top 3 or 5 to The Northman, which I didn't make my movie list at all, even though it's my favorite movie of the year. So I forgot to mention it in here. Remember when I said that like 2 of mine are from A24, and then one of them was like, oh wait, one of them's actually not A24. It just kind of seems like it maybe should be. Yep. That Northman was what I was talking about there. But so Northman, I apologize. I should have put you on the list and pretty high up, as well as Vampire Survivors, which is a video game. It's a very, very simple video game. It's a very, very well made video game, and everyone should play it. It's usually about $3 on Steam, and it's worth every penny. Nice. Oh man, is it good. Vampire Survivors, very, very good stuff. But yeah, my number one thing of the year is the Steam Deck. And the reason is it is the best video game console that has ever been made. Full stop. I don't think anything comes even close, because in order to have something be able to beat it, you have to start putting up a bunch of, like, moving the goalpost a whole bunch. Like, kind of either disqualifying the Steam Deck from the running, or saying, yeah, well, it has to be able to run things in the last year, though. Otherwise, like, if it doesn't run the brand new releases, then it's not as good at the PS5. I'm sorry. It's like, okay, well, with that being said, if we're actually just talking about, hey, what is this device? And in the long history of video game consoles, why would I say it is the best one ever made? Part of it is because it doesn't have any of the time locks that most video game consoles have, because fundamentally it's a PC, but I still would say you should refer to the Steam Deck as a console because of the nature of the product it is. And what I mean by that is it is, more than anything else, a device that is meant for playing video games. It is not primarily a computer, but you can also use it for playing games. It's not primarily an editing suite, but you can also use it for playing games. It is only really a device that's used for playing video games, and for you to get it to do something else, which you can do, by the way, because ultimately it's still a computer, which you can modify, is to do other things is when you have to start kind of installing additional software on it, or like using the desktop mode or hacking around things. And you're not stopped from doing that, which I think is really cool. But what's really crazy is just the support for things like emulation on here, and the nature of it being an open platform that you can sort of customize and mess around with and do your own things with and install mods on and install emulators on and figure out, okay, if this is a game that I have on PC but it's not on Steam, it's not supported on Steam Deck technically, let's see if I can find a workaround for that. And there's no hard wall up on your way to stop you from doing any of that. And as a video game console, I think that's a really cool thing. As an entry to PC gaming, I think that's incredibly beneficial, because it's a very good device for someone to get as they're like, maybe I'll just get this to dabble on. I'd like to play Spider-Man Remastered, the game I'm playing right now that's Steam Deck verified, or God of War 2018, or all of the PC games that came out over the last 40 years that I missed. And there's a device where you can play all of them, in addition to pretty much every console game you've ever played. I've got something like 120 emulated games installed on my Steam Deck right now, and about 80 Steam games.
Nice.
And this is a device that I can bring with me anywhere. Excuse me, sorry. I can bring with me anywhere. I can customize at the most granular levels, but also at some very key macro level customizations that are good for the everyday gamer. And what I mean by that is, speaking obviously some pretty convoluted language, but what I mean by that is at any point you can hit the Steam button, which is one of the buttons on the console, to bring up basically like an overlay, not too dissimilar from the Xbox Live Guide button or like the PlayStation button. And it'll bring up an option on every single program, not even just games, but every single program that you're running. One of the options that you'll have is controller configuration. And every single thing you do on the Steam Deck, the controls for it can be customized.
Ooh,
you can turn on the back paddles, because you have 4 back paddle buttons stock, which as far as I'm aware, is the only time a video game console has ever been sold with back paddle buttons stock, because that, like, to get them on Xbox, you need to buy a $200 controller. To get them on PlayStation for the longest time, you either had to get an aftermarket controller or a peripheral that they eventually released, although I think the PlayStation has now released their own Elite controller. But on the Steam, every Steam Deck has 4 programmable grip buttons, they're called, and you can program those in the configuration menu. You can also turn on gyroscope controls at any time for any game, no matter when it was made, even if it was made years before gyroscope controls were ever a thing. And you could be like, okay, well, yeah, but I'm not going to be able to customize it. It takes care of like all of it for you. It really just says, okay, you want to turn gyroscope aiming on. Cool. Do you want the gyroscope to act like a mouse or like a joystick? And you can say, well, I'm playing a controller-based game, so the right stick is for aiming, so have it double the joystick. And it just doubles the right stick in the gyroscope. You can set the means by which gyro aim is turned on. So say, if I just have my finger on the left trigger, or if I'm depressing the left trigger, or if I have my finger on the right stick, my thumb on the left stick, because it senses that these buttons have contact, and then we'll do things like activate the motion controls. And I can't oversell how crazy it is that we're not in an era where doing things like switching X and A on your controller isn't something that you can do within like 4 button presses.
Yeah.
You know, like in the middle of any game, and when you're in the middle of a multiplayer match, functionally you can find a place to cover and then go into the Steam Deck settings and reconfigure the controls on a game, like to a degree, and still have a chance at living through the fight. Like, that's kind of crazy. But at the same time, there's nothing really stopping all console operating systems from doing stuff like that. They just don't. But I think that it's kind of cool that Valve is in the mix, adding in features that are really kind of beneficial, and that the companies that have been making video game consoles this entire time maybe should have started doing some of this. Anyways, I just think it's an amazing device, and I think that everyone who likes video games should own one, honestly. Like, I honestly don't think there's anyone that will be disappointed by that purchase. And, I really hope that it also, as a secondary effect, brings Linux to the table in a bigger way for gaming, because the viability of the Steam Deck has been pretty impressive to a lot of people. I'm willing to bet game developers and publishers in particular. And I'm thinking that will have a lot of them start investing more time with the Valve's actually compatibility layer for Windows called Proton. That is basically the lifeblood of the Steam Deck. Like, it's the reason that the Steam Deck can play pretty much every game you own on Steam, and not like 6 of them. So like it is actually like a pretty big deal, and Proton is in the state where it's in just the lead up to Steam Deck and people working on open source software just voluntarily. But now the Steam Deck is like a thing. Like, it's out there, it's in the world, and it's successful. So I can only imagine that will have engineers become more passionate about Proton compatibility layer, make it better, have it be much more common for people to run Windows software on Linux-based systems, and might really be a disruptor for Microsoft's dominance over PC operating systems, which I think could be pretty cool. I say that as a person who likes Windows and uses it pretty often, but I also now know a fair amount about Linux, and I like Linux as well. So
nice.
But when it comes to that stuff, I'm not a computer programmer. I'm a normie, so while it would expect the PC master race guy to be like, oh no, Linux is obviously the best, it's like, well, no, I use Windows most of the time, but now because of the Steam Deck, I have been using Linux, and I like it quite a lot.
Yeah, my roommate really likes Linux.
Is it command line?
Well, yeah, I can bring up a command console at any point, so I guess yes.
Like, Linux doesn't have any user interface, right?
No, it's got it's like, it basically has a GUI desktop.
Oh, okay.
Like, it looks like Windows for the most part.
Yeah, see, that's always the main problem with like old school Linux, is like it was all command line, and to use it proper. I guess Windows is like that too. Yeah. I was about to say, so it was old school Windows was just
It was what's it called? It was DOS. It was a graphic user interface for DOS. But yeah, no, I've had to go into the command line for my Steam Deck once in order to, because basically I busted this thing open and added this thing. Oh well, I did it when it was difficult to do. We're adding in support for these plugins so that I can do things like change the amount of active CPU cores that are functioning at any given time. Because for emulation, there are especially some older games that do a lot better with single core processing, and so you got to basically kind of turn off a bunch of the cores in order to have the game run better, and you can't do that by default, so you had to like turn on developer mode. I had to go into the console, set like a developer password, and now they've even made it so that aspect that I had to do for the to get the Decky plugin working and the Power Tools plugin is now just bundled into the EmuDeck package, which an EmuDeck is just it's one website you go to with one package of software that you download and hit install on, and then it installs every emulator which currently functions onto the Steam Deck, as well as like a system that gives you good art and organizes everything, and then also now adds in the ability to do the plugin, adding plugins to it to do things like turn off the CPU cores and stuff. So, and that's all stuff that I wouldn't have known anything about if I didn't have a console that allows me to do that stuff, and that we now live in an age where if anything is possible, probably if someone has found it out, and there's tutorials of how to do it right now. So for when it was like, okay, I need to learn Linux and how to like set up a developer password in Linux and go into the console mode, and I might be avoiding the warranty for all I know because it's doing all this crazy like under the hood shit. But it's like, oh no, but like there's step-by-step instructions for like all of it. There's YouTube videos that will walk you through like every step of it. So it's not that tough to do. No. But what's crazy is the Steam Deck is it's a good entry point that could have people actually like be able to try. Because I honestly think that most of the reason why people haven't done things like fiddled around with PC gaming or try out Fallout New Vegas and seeing how many mods they can toss on it just to see how good they can make a game that was made in like, I don't know, what was New Vegas, 2009? 2010?
Yeah, like it was early on. Yeah, it was early.
Okay, yeah, like early 2010s, yeah. Yeah, but basically to be like, okay, here's the things I can do to this 13-year-old game. Isn't that cool? Wow. And I think the big problem is most people just don't have the hardware and the drive to do so. But I think there might be a lot of people who buy a Steam Deck just because it's like, hey, I can play God of War on the bus. And then those people now in their hands have a thing that they ever talked to someone else who has a Steam Deck and was like, yeah, so I was playing Metroid Prime the other day. That guy might be like, Metroid Prime? What do you mean? That's not on Steam. It's like, yeah, no, it's not on Steam, but I was playing it on my Steam Deck because of EmuDeck. And I'd be like, wait, what? And then there's the kernel of an idea. Mm-hmm. Back in the old days, we used to call that Inception.
I like the way you're thinking, but it's hard, man. Like to get people to do extra work for something that they can get that needs no extra work, like the Switch.
Well, okay, play Metroid Prime on your Switch.
That's fine. I can just buy, like if Metroid Prime is the only game, then you just buy.
It's
Switch.
Not though. No, but it's not on Switch.
I get it, but like.
But my point is, Fonz, nothing you can say is going to say there's a device you can get instead of the device I'm talking about that can play every single console game that's ever been made for all of history.
What I'm trying to tell you is like the amount of effort taken sometimes people aren't worth wanting to do it.
I know. Which is why, but you gotta listen to what I said about the Steam Deck being that entry point, because I think there's a lot of people who might buy a Steam Deck thinking, oh cool, I can play God of War Ragnarok on the go, or like whatever, not God of War 2018 because it's on Steam, or Doom Eternal, or whatever. Like thinking, okay, this is a pretty powerful handheld gaming console that can play games and have them look a lot more like they do on my PS5 or PS4. and I don't want to play Zelda, so I'm not going to get a Switch. I'm going to get this instead. And then they have a Steam Deck, and it's like I say that they're now a target for once you find out what you actually have. That honestly, I think it's how a lot of people get into PC gaming as deep as they do. Yeah. It's because they buy a PC just because, like, oh, okay, well, hey, this game, my friends are all playing Counter-Strike. I want to play Counter-Strike, CS:GO with them or something.
Well, for
and
me,
then they, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's very similar to what you're talking about in terms of it, like almost kind of like a gateway drug. You know,
yeah.
It's a because for me, I started the first game I played on PC. I shit you not, was actually Fallout 3. Because I had played it a little bit on console, but I had played a lot of New Vegas on console, and I really liked New Vegas, and I kind of want to go back to, you know, the earlier game, the game that came before, and that's how I got into PC gaming, because I started modding it. It was like a couple mods, you know, and then it was like, you know, 5 mods, and then it was like 15 mods, and it's just kind of slowly trickled in where I just did more and more and more. And yeah, that's
and Fonz, so we're clear. I'm not saying that we're ever going to get to a point where every single person in the world is playing on like Steam Decks and modding their games and emulating and stuff. It still will be something that is relatively niche, but I think that we're definitely looking at an era where it is much more reasonable that someone might have a device that requires a Steam account and is that little like toe in the PC gaming water. Because I think that PC gaming, the biggest PR problem it has is that it seems a lot more complicated to people than it actually is. And when you want to do the complicated stuff, it's like, okay, but then what you're talking about doing are things that are so powerful and that makes so much of a difference to the game that you're playing, that if you figure out that, hey, but it's going to involve you jumping through these hoops, if it's the thing that you want to do, you will then do that and jump through those hoops, and then that's like you've gone through your gateway drug. Now you know how to do that. You understand how to apply a mod. Which, Fonz, I believe for you personally, it was your quest.
Witcher 3. Witcher 3 is when I started modding games.
Yeah. But like, I mean, that's like, I have no problem with it. And
I just like I've worked and like know enough people in the world. Like I know people that don't want to get a PC because like they're just in the PlayStation ecosystem and like
I know
getting them out, right?
I know a lot of people like that, and the
Nintendo handheld is just that's almost like a cult of personality at this point.
Sure, but I would say that in both cases, what we're talking about is the counter argument is it's either stubbornness or ignorance in that case at that point though, and which I mean is always going to be there. But I think that for the open-minded kid in the schoolyard that is about to take up the Chad crown of the fucking most based kid at school is going to be like, oh, hey, wait, actually, if I install this EmuDeck thing that my big brother told me about, oh shit, holy God, I can play like every game ever. And then he brings that to school, and at least in his group of gamer friends, he's all of a sudden the coolest kid.
Oh yeah, he's the coolest kid ever.
And I think that the real impact is going to be when those kids start being out in the world more when it comes to how this could actually like change the face of PC gaming, not maybe entirely, but to a notable degree. And I at least see the potential there. Now I think the other X factors, and hold on, the things that could hurt it or throw it off are if the chip shortage makes it so that it's difficult for them to keep Steam Decks in stock, because I know it took a while for them to catch up to their pre-orders, and they eventually did. So now it's presently at the point that if you're listening to this podcast and you want a Steam Deck, I think you can log on to Steam, order one, and it'll be there by the end of the week. So it's not like
there's a 64 gigabyte one. Like, what the fuck are you actually playing with that?
Well, that's the one I got for X-Ray Girl, and I actually used that as an excuse to figure out how to open it up, install my own NVMe in it, and install Linux install SteamOS actually from scratch.
So wait, how many gigabytes is it now?
Now she has 512, in addition to a terabyte SD card that has most of her games on. Oh yeah, you could also just not do that and get the 64 gigabyte and get a terabyte micro SD card, and you still have
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, you can add that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and also your warranty isn't void if you open it up.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
They give you a right to repair, which is pretty sweet and ultra based. It's why we want companies like Valve involved in this stuff more, because they seem to have a vested interest in being like, yeah, fuck it, it's your device. You should be able to take it apart and put it back together if you want.
Yeah. That's
Whereas,
awesome.
like, when you think about that, it's like the logical thing. It's like, well, no, we can't have people opening the thing up and putting it back together and then claiming warranty. And Gabe's just like, yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Like, it's so kind of gangster when you think about it. He's just like, yeah, I'm a PC gaming nerd. I'm like the god. I'm quite literally the god of PC gaming nerds. And I say we can.
Yeah.
I also own Valve, so, you know.
How long did the battery last when you were playing like AAA
the battery is generally pretty shitty. At the time, I find I will generally get through a work day if I'm like fiddling around with it at lunch and on my breaks, with that much of an issue regardless of what I'm playing, and that's with no charging. If I'm going to be consistently playing through an entire day, I'm definitely going to want to have a charger on me. And like plug in when I can. You can also, as long as the output of the power bank is 65 watts or over, you can charge it off a power bank as well. And I do use one of those out in the field, like when I'm on exercises. Yeah, and I've actually think I've said this exact thing to Fonz, and it's what I say to most people to give you a good idea of what I actually mean when I talk about how crazy this thing is. I say that the last time I was this blown away by a purchase of an electronics device, it was the first smartphone I ever had, like my first iPhone. But I was like, oh, okay, my whole life is different now. Like you kind of knew it right away. It was like, yeah, this now being possible means nothing's ever going to be the same. And like, I can't imagine ever being in a situation which I don't own a competent version of this type of device, and not in the precise same way as the cell phone, because there it's like our real lives are never going to be the same. Whereas this is just like, you know, more that like my idea of what playing video games just in my bed at night is and could be is forever changed, because now it's like honestly the device that I would probably be using almost exclusively to play pretty much every genre other than first-person shooters. And even then, they play pretty well because of the gyro controls. That is something that I think Xbox controllers could really use some help with. Although, I gotta say, PS5 gyro controls, not fantastic in a lot of games I've played, which disappointed me.
All right.
Very nice.
Anybody else got any honorable mentions or anything?
I just want to say that I'm excited for this year. I think there's gonna be some good shit that comes out this year. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of movies wise. I can't really think of too much that I'm looking forward to. I guess Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is my only like comic book movie that I care about at all.
I actually am gonna see that. I like James Gunn's
same
Guardians
here.
of the Galaxy's movies, so.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man, the animated one.
Oh yeah.
Across the universe.
Yeah.
Oh, across the Spider-Verse. Okay.
The first
Spider-Verse,
Spider-Verse was so good.
Not the same writer or directors though. So I've been skeptical of this one. I also kind of think it's like you're opening up the dimensions again. Like, can we not just get like another story about Miles here?
Yeah.
Like just the one that's not a multiple universe one. And it sort of seemed like having the multiple universe angle to have there be a Peter who's alive who can then go off and still be alive after Miles is introduced was like that was kind of seemed like it was a good premise to do that, to also I don't know, I guess introduce an alternate person who is using the mantle of Spider-Man in a way that I guess seemed more acceptable, because you're doing this as like, hey, it's like everyone, there's like a bunch of Spider-Man in this, so it's like, so let's not give shit to Miles, because he's actually like a pretty good character. And and my worry with Across the Spider-Verse, because it's a part 1 and part 2, which means I'm like, was this really a two-parter, or did you just decide, okay, we can really milk this, and I don't think we're going to be able to find a third premise for using the multiverse. But yeah, I think also I'm at kind of a point of anger at the idea of multiverse content in general. It's like, oh man, Doctor Strange was too far. I say that, and again, having Everything Everywhere All at Once on my list. So.
Ooh, John Wick.
Yeah. But I think John Wick, it's hard for me to get excited about John Wick. I just know I'm going to see it. I know I'm going to see it, and I know I'm probably going to like it.
Yeah.
But like, if you're like, hey man, John Wick got delayed until to the 2024, I'd be like, oh, I guess we got to go on strike. Like, I'm like, no. I was like, okay, it'll come out when it comes out. I'll see it when it comes out. That's fine. But like, I can't really think of any. I guess Dune 2 this year.
Dune 2 comes out this year. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's a big one I'm looking forward to. That might actually be
Bear.
Sure. Yeah. Again, I'll watch it.
I'll wait till it comes out on streaming.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'll go see it in theater if I hear it's really good, like from
people and that's stuff. Hilarious.
But yeah, I think actually my biggest concern for that movie is just the director's Elizabeth Banks, and her only major directing credit is that Charlie's Angels movie with Kristen Stewart. So I'm like, I don't know how excited I should be getting about an Elizabeth Banks movie.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's not saying not at all, but it's like, I don't know that, like, because there's plenty of people that are like, oh, Cocaine Bear is going to be like the best movie ever made. It's already a cult classic, and I'm like, guys, maybe we should let the movie come out, because everyone always used to say that the biggest cult classic ever is going to be Snakes on a Plane, and there was a summer of I want these motherfucking snakes off this motherfucking plane, and that was about it.
Yep. Pretty much.
No, like that movie is a bit of a meme, but for the most part, oh wait, Andrew Matthews got it. Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah,
Impossible. Yeah. That's my number one most anticipated movie of the year.
For Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Oh, and also the last 3 Mission Impossible movies have been bangers. So, and it's the director of the last 2. So I'm like, I have a feeling it's going to be pretty good. But
been good.
I don't know what else. I mean, there's the trailer for that new Evil Dead that came out, and it looks okay. I don't know. I'm not totally against it, but there's something a little off. I think about, like, I made a tweet about it where I was saying it was the lighting. Like, something seems a little off about the lighting, and I think that's a weird complaint, but it seems to aesthetically look a bit more like the 2013 Evil Dead. The Fede Alvarez one.
Yeah.
But it's like a little too glossy to look like that. But tone-wise, it doesn't seem like it's anything like Ash versus Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2, you know? Like the more funny action horror stuff. Yeah. It seems like this is more going to be horror, but it also kind of looks too clean. And I don't know. But at the same time, the trailer didn't look bad. So I was like, I'm cautiously optimistic. And at the very least, I feel like I'm going to go see this when it comes out just to check it out for my own opinion. But it could go either way. It could either end up being really, really cool or terrible. But at the very least, the trailer didn't read obviously terrible to me. Which, something.
That's pretty good.
I don't know. What else is coming out? Any other?
Have you guys heard of that new Netflix show, Kaleidoscope?
I have not.
No, not really. No.
It's got Giancarlo Esposito in it. Oh. But instead of it's a limited series. I think there's like 8 or 9 episodes. Mm-hmm. But instead of like a choose your own adventure, like that Black Mirror thing they did a couple years ago, you can choose the order of which episode you watch, and it kind of like you learn different things at different points. Like as long as the first episode I think is called Black, and it tells you how to like what's the concept of the show. And then the last episode is White, and it's like the final explanation of what happened. But everything in between you can watch it any way you want. It's, I don't know, supposedly really cool.
Nice.
So I think it's #1 on Netflix right now.
Okay.
Sounds not too different from one of Tim Rogers' reviews.
Hey. Good stuff.
But yeah. What about you, KJ? Any other things coming out? Man, I swear, I feel like there were other things I knew of coming out next year that I'm now totally dropping the ball on. Here, you know what? I'm gonna task Fonz. Look up a list of movies coming out this year. I'm gonna look up games coming out this year, and KJ, I don't know. Think of a thing to do. Like anime? I don't know. Shows?
I mean, in terms of anime, I need to catch up on multiple anime, so I got my work cut out for me there.
But I'm saying if we can all quickly look things up and then see like the rough guide as to what's coming out, and then mention things that we might have been missing on our list. Off the bat, Atomic Heart. I feel like I want to play Atomic Heart because I've had that on my Steam wish list forever. And Replaced, that's another. They had a kind of 2D cyberpunk looking one that kind of looks like The Last Night.
Yeah.
That looks good. Fire Emblem, don't care.
For movies, like the only one I actually like, the only few I actually want to watch is probably Oppenheimer.
Ooh,
Oppenheimer. Fonz, you playing Hogwarts Legacy? Either of you? Are you Harry Potter?
I plan on it. I'm not.
Really?
I'm not a big Harry Potter guy at all. I really didn't like the movies, and I didn't even finish the first book. But the game looks fun. The game legitimately looks enjoyable. So yeah, I'm gonna fucking pick it up and play it. I'm kind of excited for it, to be honest.
Is it on Game Pass?
I'm not sure.
Doubtful. I think it's probably just gonna be because it's a WB game, and I don't think.
If it ends up on Game Pass, I'll play it just to play a Slytherin.
Vinland Saga Season 2 is coming out this year.
Oh, right on.
It literally comes out in 5 days.
Northman the anime.
Have you seen Vinland Saga?
Yeah.
That's good shit. That's really good shit.
It actually, in the middle of watching it, it switched from Amazon to Netflix. Though here it was weird. I was like, wait, what?
The Trigun like remake is coming out sometime this year. Not sure when, but it will. Obviously, Attack on Titan. And
I got the Super Mario Bros. Movie. If either of you are gonna watch it.
Oh yeah.
I'll probably watch it.
I'll watch it. Yeah, I gave Sonic a try. I loved it. So.
Yeah. I was into Sonic as well. Maybe. I think Mario it'll live or die on its story though. I think that'll be
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's comedy.
Oh, Diablo 4 is this year too, and I'm not 100% sold on Diablo 4, but some of it looks okay. I think they're definitely helping themselves, at least with me, by making it look a lot like Diablo 2.
Yeah.
Like
I got Scream 6.
Arguably, Diablo 2 is the high watermark.
I heard that Scream 5 was basically like they were trying to assert that Stab had like a Last Jedi movie, effectively, like that Ryan made it, and so I never watched 5. I liked 4 quite a lot too, and I think if you have Wes Craven back and direct Scream 4 after the trilogy ended, and people were like kind of pissed at 3 because it wasn't quite as tight as first couple, and then 4 comes back and 4 was really good. And then Wes Craven dies. What do you mean you're making a 5th Scream movie? Fuck up. Like, part of me was really pissed when they even announced that. I was like, oh, no, guys, stop. The man is dead. Oh, Alan Wake 2. How about that?
Oh, that should be good.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Epic exclusive. So that game comes out in 2024.
We already mentioned Mission Impossible, John Wick. Yeah, I got nothing.
Lies of P, that Pinocchio Bloodborne-looking game.
Yeah.
Oh shit, Spider-Man 2. I realize that's one of the reasons why I was like,
the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen is coming out this year.
Everyone told me to watch that around the time we were doing the last Attack on Titan ones, but I never got around to it.
I didn't get around to it either. I hear it's good. I want to watch it, but
Space Marine 2. Gears of Warhammer.
I'm really hoping that's good because I really liked the first game.
Yeah, Tim Willits is working on it, and he's like an OG Quake guy, so
yeah,
that's promising.
One Punch Man Season 3 is coming out this year.
Whoa! Yeah,
I do.
I'm glad that Bones is taking it over because like Mob Psycho 100 is one of my favorite anime like ever, and I love the work they did.
I heard that whoever did season 2 like really fucked it up. I didn't see it, but
the animation wasn't that good because of the studio. Like,
that's what I heard.
Like JC staff is okay, but they're not. And like in terms of like the best studios, you're looking at like Bones, White Fox puts out some really good stuff, and as well as Ufotable. Like those are going to be like the bigger studios that put out like really good shit. But,
I mean, you got Wit's been doing.
Wit's been doing good work too.
And I gotta say, like Mappa, as much as people gave them shit about what they did with Attack on Titan, I really love what they did with Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
And I think that Chainsaw Man is actually kind of interesting because the art style they use is sort of like and it's gonna sound bad, but I mean this. They do it in a way that actually doesn't look like shit. Like they make it work well. But it's basically the same style as the Berserk 2016 anime, and in that it's CGI anime that's 3D and looks mostly 3D, even though it's clear that the artistic flares are made to make it look like it's hand drawn to an extent, but it very much looks like 3D characters that are moving around. And the difference is, I think though, Chainsaw Man it does it in a way that is aesthetically complementary to the material. Like it seems like, oh yeah, this is how this show is supposed to look. Whereas with Berserk, it's like, well, who fucked up Berserk? Like, what have they done to my boy?
So apparently, and this is my anime list reporting this, but there's not a lot of info. Apparently, an Akira anime is being worked on by Sunrise.
What has Sunrise done, which I might know?
Sunrise is essentially the Gundam company. They did Iron-Blooded Orphans, they did Seed, they did
and that Iron-Blooded Orphans is the Gundam anime that people keep telling me to watch.
That's a really good anime.
I might have to watch some soon because X-Ray Girl was
what else?
She was sent some gunpla to build on her bimbo building streams.
Well, and here's what else. They also made a little anime, and you might not have heard of it because it is pretty obscure. It's called Cowboy Bebop.
Oh yeah. I hear tell that is an anime.
They also did Gitama and Code Geass, and Code Geass is one of my favorite anime. So,
actually, fonz. I actually remember Jamal telling me to watch Code Geass like a long time ago.
If we watch Code Geass, do it with me and Caleb, and we'll make a series out of it because I'd love to watch Code Geass again. That's one of me and Caleb's favorite anime. So, but yeah, we'll make a series out of it. But yeah, apparently Sunrise is handling an Akira remake, so I'm actually really excited to hear more about that. Because Sunrise is a studio with a lot of pedigree. People don't think of Sunrise now, but that's a really, yeah.
Hey, I mean, like I generally will never say, "Oh, this studio's doing this; it's going to be terrible." I'm like, I don't know, give them a shot. But at the same time, it always is good to get news which sounds optimistic.
Yeah. Sunrise is a pretty good company. But I really like. Have you watched any Gundam, Mark?
No. Iron-Blooded Orphans is the one people tell me to start with, though. And I haven't, but
yeah. I mean, I get
Gundam's one of those ones that's it's kind of like it's different than Naruto or One Piece, and that those are big because there's so many individual episodes of one show.
Yeah.
Gundam's actually kind of the other direction, whereas it's daunting just because there's so many shows. I'm just like, well, I don't know, like where do I begin? And like where do I begin not only as like, hey, chronologically, where's the first thing which happens? Is that the best place to start?
Yeah.
Where do I begin as a newcomer who might only watch one show if I'm not into it? Like, I don't know that I'm going to like Gundam necessarily. I know that a lot of people I respect like it, and a lot of people have, been very enthusiastic about Gundam fandom over the years, but, that doesn't guarantee that, like, Mark the Cyborg's going to click with it,
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I don't know. Like, which one do I start with?
Honestly,
the safe bets, or...
Iron-Blooded Orphans is a great series, but I honestly think you should probably start with Double O.
Okay.
Double O is, in a lot of ways, the series that is the most quintessentially Gundam series. And so because of that, it sort of sets you up for what to expect from the other shows, as well as the ideas and themes of Gundam taken to, I guess, their final conclusion in a lot of ways.
Oh, okay.
Because Gundam is ostensibly an anti-war series. It is ostensibly a very flashy, bombastic anti-war series because and honestly the problem is that a lot of people don't like older animation from the 70s, which is a shame because the original series in my opinion holds up from the Universal Century. I think it holds up. Honestly, like I wouldn't mind it if they just kept the same exact story and the same exact characters but just made new animation because then more people would watch it. Because a lot of the iconic stuff from Gundam literally started in the 70s.
Well, I mean, that's kind of all they've ever been doing with Berserk. So, I mean, I heard that they were talking about doing a new series that they were starting with the Golden Age arc, and I'm like, don't do the Golden Age arc anymore.
Oh my God, stop! No more, please, Jesus.
I was like, as much as like I think it's a great arc and a great story, and if you were saying like, hey, we're gonna wait until Berserk is finished, like with the other like Miura's friend who's gonna be finishing off the series. We're gonna wait till that's done, and then we're gonna hire, I don't know, like let's Dreamcast someone like Ufotable or something to just do all of Berserk, like the entire thing, page for page, not a frame missing, the ultimate adaptation. They'd be like, okay, do the Golden Age arc again because you need to make it consistent. It would be really weird if this Uber Berserk series just skipped the Golden Age arc because they're like, well, you said you didn't want to see the Golden Age arc. I'd be like, that's not what I said. Fuck you.
It's like,
don't be that facetious. You know, I meant to stop only doing the Golden Age arc and then not doing anything else.
Yeah,
like, that's been the problem.
Oh yeah, no, that's been the main issue. But yeah.
I guess that can probably wrap us, Fonz, unless you have anything else you got to do.
No.
Back to fatherhood.
Yeah.
You gonna make any more babies?
No, not tonight. For a while. Trust me, one is good enough for now. I can't understand people that have two.
Well, see, I mean, a lot of people say that you want two so that they end up being alone, or they end up not being alone, so that in some ways two is easier than one because you have a live-in babysitter.
That, like, I'm sure that's the case, like, later on, but, like, right now, one needs to be watched 24 hours a day.
Yeah, and that one will have the phase where they go through that as well, and skip that part. But once they're both, say, toddlers, so let's not put a timeline in there. I'm gonna assume Marlena has not been listening this long, but let's say that your daughter is 2. When your son, let's say, is born. But until your daughter is 4, things are probably going to be pretty shit.
Yeah, way
but once your daughter is 4, then when your son is being a bit of a brat and wants someone to hang out with and play with, and you just want to like have a beer and play some video games, it's like, hey, guess what? Playing with your sister.
Yeah. It's like
you guys be over there, don't die, and just if you are going to die, make sure you I don't know, get into my peripheral vision or scream really loud, and then I will look over. But when it's only one, if that one dies, Fonz, it's your fault.
Horrible.
If he dies, he dies.
He dies. Yeah.
Oh man, I use that way too often. She dies. Anyways, no. We'll see. AJ, how about you? Any kids?
No, I don't have. I'm single right now.
All right. Marc's got the puppies, which I've been to his place. It's just like having kids.
Yeah, I mean they calm down a lot more when there's not over. Also, you get up and stand too often.
Mm-hmm.
It's different if we're like out and about and like everyone's walking around and stuff. But if I'm sitting down and you get up and stand, Rocky will assume that you're trying to hurt me.
Yeah.
You are now a threat, and he needs to defend father.
And
he
dominance.
No. He knows he's not dominant. He understands Royam. His plan is inform father so that father can get the boomstick. Yeah, that's the only self-defense benefit to small dogs. Their alarm systems. Andrew Matthews for the $1 super chat. Highlander is the #1 pick for X-Ray Girl 2030. Yeah, X-Ray Girl has tried to watch Highlander twice, and she keeps on either falling asleep or then deciding she wants to watch something else more. And we haven't got through all of Highlander yet.
There you go.
I mean, I have because I've seen that movie a whole bunch of times, but X-Ray Girl has not. We'll never know the bliss of immortality.
That can be only one.
Nor the bliss of seeing the most French man in the universe play a Scottish man and the most British man in the universe play an Egyptian. Mm-hmm. Sean Connery is the Egyptian in question. And Christopher Lambert is the Scotsman who's ultra French. Still, though, great movie. And you got Tom Clancy as the main villain, and he's pretty good villain character. Played Lex Luthor in the Superman show.
Yeah. All right, guys. I gotta start heading out.
Okay. All right. And Andrew Matthews also says he did not like the end of Iron-Blooded Orphans. All right, then. I will keep that in mind.
Interesting.
All right, then. I'm going to end the stream now. Andrew, thank you for watching, and everyone else who's watching at home and was not in the chat. The Rumble chats are generally pretty quiet. That's fine, though. Thank you for watching, and you're all wonderful people, and I love you dearly.
See you around, guys.
Okay, we are clear.
Good deal.
I'm just going to take off my headphones for a second. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm actually going to head to bed now, so
I'm literally going to head to bed right now, too, yeah.
Yeah, it's getting kind of late.
All right.
Mark, when you're done your leave?
I go back to work on Monday.
I did want to say, do you remember saving a private on basic training in Borden that fell into a lake, like a frozen lake?
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
No.
Sorry?
November, maybe?
Okay, that turned out to be my cousin's stepson.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, like he was telling my sister they were at a family gathering, like I wasn't there on New Year's, and she's like, talk to this kid, and he's like, oh yeah, like I'm at Borden. I was at Borden. He's in Edmonton now. And she's like, oh yeah, I know a paramedic at Borden. And he's like, oh yeah, and then like he's like, any chance he has like one leg? And she's like, yeah, actually. And so yeah, it's pretty funny. So thank you, I guess. Like that's pretty crazy.
Well, I mean, what was hilarious too is that the only thing that made that difficult was it became an administrative issue with him and his course staff, because we were like, okay, yeah, no, they're fine. They're not hypothermic. They need to go home now. And they're like, okay, well, send them home. They're like, no, we like the clothes are wet and they're now in patient gown, so you need to bring them clothes. And they're like, well, I don't know. Well, we're still at the accident site, so that might be a few hours. I'm like, no, we close in half an hour. You will get someone over here with clothes for your troops so that I don't have to send their wet, frozen asses home in the actual snow with no clothes on. They're like, well, can they just put on the clothes they were wearing? Yeah, I'm like, the clothes that were in the submerged water. That you could have just sent them home or to the hospital, but you sent them to our clinic. You made them my responsibility, and I can't leave them in the wet clothes. So off the bat, that was never an option that I had. I had to say, take off these wet clothes, throw on these patient gowns, let's get you some warm blankets, warm you up a bit, throw some hot packs in your armpits, like do the things you do for hypothermic patients. And then they're just like, oh, well, I don't know, like, how are we going to get their, like, locker keys and stuff? I was like, send people over here to get them if you want, or you can just send someone over to Canex and buy them each a pair of sweatpants and a hoodie. He's like, well, I can't ask my course staff to spend their own money. I'd be like, then get it out of your unit's commissary. I was like, I don't know why you're acting like this is an argument, man, because it's not. I'm saying, come here right the fuck now and get your troops. They're your responsibility. And like, this guy's just like, oh, he's like, who am I speaking with? I was like, you're speaking with Corporal Bosch. Yeah, I was like, give him my full names. I was like, go ahead. Call my boss. I
Make
dare
my
you.
day.
Make my boss call my company sergeant major and tell him that I was being difficult, telling you to bring clothes to your hypothermic troops. I want you to do that. Fucking
That's
dare
hilarious.
me. But yeah, no, that was.
I'm gonna send you some YouTube videos over Facebook. You're not gonna watch them
Cool.
tonight. Watch them tomorrow. It's an army person, a former army, I want to say sergeant, and a former Marine, and they tell stories like the way you just told a story.
Oh yeah.
And they're really good. So I'm gonna send you several of them.
There's if you want a great YouTube channel for that, there's a guy called the Fat Electrician that is fucking hilarious. Yeah. He's so good, and he does a lot of like just military history stuff.
Nice.
Hilarious. All right, guys, it was a pleasure as always.
Yeah, it was excellent, guys.
And I look forward to guys, I'm gonna try House of the Dragon, but if I get burned by this ending, we're gonna have problems.
You won't. No, you won't get burned by the ending of season 1. There's no chance you're gonna get to
the series finale.
Well, it's gonna be dark. I'll say that.
It's gonna be dark. Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine as long as it's good and coherent. And
coherent, yes.
Okay, that's it.
I'll tell you this though, whoever's your favorite character, chances are they're not making it, and I'm not saying that because of anyone in particular. I'm saying that because
which era does this take place in?
It's 200 years before Song of Ice and Fire.
So the Blackfire Rebellion.
Before the Blackfire Rebellions. This
before that. Okay.
This is about 60 years before the first Blackfire Rebellion. Honestly, I'm glad you brought that up because I meant to bring this up during the episode. I'm glad I'm still recording because I might add this as a little mini video as an addendum. I hope that House of the Dragon is really successful and becomes an anthology series, so we get to see like Aegon's conquest as well as the Blackfire rebellions, because then we get to see Dunk and Egg, and we get to see Daemon Blackfire and the Battle of the Red Grass Fields, and that'd be so cool. Apparently,
I would honestly
Blackfire,
I would kill for a Robert's Rebellion.
That might be another but part of the House of the Dragon.
Like a mini-series, like one season is just Rebellion.
Like they might cover different things, House of the Dragon, because apparently during the Battle of the Red Grass Fields, apparently Daemon Blackfire and Colbury, who was like the best knight at the time, apparently they fought for like 30 minutes, and apparently people fighting like around them just stopped to watch this insane battle. And then when Daemon won, he dragged Colbury back behind enemy lines under like arrow fire to get him medical attention. And it was so fucking cool. Apparently Daemon was just a total Chad.
One thing, Fonz, though, that I think will be something to note about House of the Dragon that you'll notice organically, but just I think knowing going in will help you realize why people seem to like it so much. Part of the reasons why it's so strong is because it's got that same level of character development that Game of Thrones has, but it's focused on a much smaller group of characters.
Got it.
There's honestly 6 major players, maybe.
So
and
one final
with
comment.
Sure.
And I'm gonna go. Cool guy. Have you read the books, the Song of Ice and Fire books?
No, I've only read Game of Thrones, the second one.
Okay.
I just read the first 3.
Clash of Kings.
Clash of Kings.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just say this, and this is what made me like, okay, I'm really cool with this. They include a scene that is fan service for book nerds. After you watch it, I'm gonna say what it is, but I'm not gonna say what it is right now.
But from the books of the house. Oh my God.
I'll tell you this though. And maybe don't rewatch Game of Thrones because.
No, I can't.
Well, no, I'm saying though that in season, I want to say 2 or 3 of Game of Thrones. The ending of House of the Dragon is kind of blown. Because there's a scene where Joffrey is walking Sansa through the underground of the old dragon pits, and he might just say exactly what ends up happening to one of the main characters.
Yeah, okay.
I was like, oh shit. I was like, that's an interesting one to go back to now that I know who that character is. So I guess I know how House of the Dragon's ending.
Well,
that was also no. The thing hasn't happened yet, and it won't happen probably until the final season, if not maybe the end of the second last season. But yeah. But one of the people who you probably think is if not the one of the main characters is their end is foretold by Joffrey. And then right here this happened. And it's like, say the name and everything.
Yeah. All right.
But sounds good. All right, guys.
All right.
Peace. It was a pleasure. I'll see you guys soon.